What is up, Friday Nighters? You know what I was watching? Just Another Friday Night. It just started right now. I was like, oh, I got a notification on my phone. WA needs to remind me not to read my own fucking alerts. Welcome to Just Another Friday Night. I am one of your two hosts, CM Chuck. Across from me,
everybody, you know me by now, WA.
Adamantium.
It's good to be back. It was 2 weeks. We had some obligations. We took care of it. It's done. It's over. And we're back doing what we fucking do here.
Yeah, what we do here. We like what we do
the
best.
Shit. Yeah, we shoot the shit. We drink beer, and
we're pretty good at shooting the shit and drinking beer.
And we get to talk with you guys.
Absolutely.
And a lot of shit's been happening. A lot of shit's been happening.
Yeah. Yeah. AA. Adrenalize me, brother. The world of pop culture has been on fire, kind of.
So in the past 2 weeks, we got 3 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Me and CM, we were talking about it a little bit earlier. We're loving it. We're not hating on it like it seems like everyone loves to do.
Absolutely loving it.
Yeah, we're fucking loving it. This is the heavyweight like storyline of Star Wars, so we're fucking loving it. We're digging it, and then especially after episode 3 of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, hey, maybe that's what he did on episode 3, right? Episode 3.
Damn, see, tie-in there, right?
Which we'll talk about probably maybe at the end of this month, I believe. We'll probably do a deep dive on the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So I think it does finish this month.
Oh, man, that's so quick,
so we'll probably be doing that on the last Friday of the month.
I did forget June just started, so
yeah. And then we got The Boys. I think they dropped 3 episodes today. So man, I'm excited for that too, man.
Me too.
Seeing Anthony Starr again.
Yeah.
He's fucking tearing it up. The Homelander was not a very good character in The Boys. The comic. He was fine. He was okay, but he's not at the level of where he is in the TV show. TV show Homelander is so much better. And he draws you in, seriously. Like I watched this show just to see what Homelander's gonna do in the fucking episodes. Honestly, like it was always Butcher and Huey that were kind of like the main story arc, But Homelander was there every now and then. He'd be a dick here, but nothing like how he is on the show.
No, not at all. I would say Anthony Starr has done for Homelander what Robert Downey Jr. did for Iron Man.
Yeah.
It's like that big of a deal. Chris Rizzo in the house.
What's up, Rizzo?
What's up, Rizzo? We appreciate you being here, brother. I keep forgetting that I have this option. I need to do this. See,
Rizzo, we're just talking to.
How about you?
Yeah. Can't wait to get those books in. I got your message. I can't wait to dig into those. So, I got Ghost Rider issue 3, but I got Ghost Rider issue 2. So I got to wait for those books to come in so I can read issue 3.
Wonderful, wonderful. I believe they're called a claim sale. I'm trying to learn the terminology. Rizzo helped me out on Rizzo's great Facebook group, Invincible Comics and More. If you are not a member,
800 members strong in that one.
Yeah, search it and shop it. You will have a blast in there. There you go. And there you go, Invincible Comics and More, because sometimes there's pops, sometimes there's figures.
Yeah.
All
Even, those kind of stuff,
maybe you got some stuff you want to move. You know what I mean? I'm sure that Rizzo would be happy to let you move your. I was going to say move your product, and I was like, just like my luck, Facebook or the powers of you will catch that line and be like, boom, you're off the line. Move your items or whatever if you have something. I've told Rizzo before that sometimes I end up with a bunch of double books that I bought on accident, and if I went through all of them, I probably got a good stack I could sell, and he has said more than happy to go sell on there. So I've not done it yet, but I'm sure that he would be happy to walk anyone through that wanted to learn the process. It's great, great fun, and it's fun when you do a claim win. It's not like an auction, like me and AA aren't trying to outbid each other for a book. You know what I mean? It's like, Rizzo puts a price. If you say sold, it's yours. So
it's first come, first serve, basically, and you really got to pay attention. There's a lot of times I'm like, holy shit, I forgot, like I'm working, and I'm like, holy shit, I see it where he's already done another job. I'm like, oh, fuck,
That's why, AA, you always got to, like, what I do, and I know he's going to start one, I type the word following in, because then Facebook will give you notifications every time there's a post on that.
Like I said, though, it's usually kind of like when I'm working.
Right.
Because sometimes Rizzo does drop it during it, which is great. I'm sure people have different fucking schedules. Mm-hmm. People work first, second, third. Mm-hmm. I happen to work a very early morning shift, so it's kind of like, before I realize it when I get home, like at 3, I'm like, holy shit, he just dropped like 20, 20 fucking comics.
Yeah.
You know,
I love that.
And I gotta. I'm like,
scroll.
oh man, please don't, don't please no so. Man.
And his last one, he had a great J. Scott Campbell cover
Yeah.
of Clea, famous from Multiverse of Madness.
Yes.
And man, it was somebody grabbed it quick, and I was
Yeah.
like, damn it! If I would have saw it when it dropped, I would have
Yeah.
definitely claimed that one. But
Yeah, like I was lucky with that Ghost Rider issue too. I was like, somebody had sold it, but he had 2 copies, so I was like, oh great, so I got lucky on that one.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, so AA, Obi-Wan, obviously out now. Like I said, man, has it
3
been?
episodes.
All 3 episodes came out after our last episode, so it's been that long.
So it's
We've
2
had
weeks.
3?
Last 2 episodes came out last week.
Oh,
and
that's
then
right.
one
That's
came
right.
out
Wow,
this-
so not since we did our last episode.
Yeah, it's like
but
3 episodes dropped.
Interesting.
Yeah.
AA, I know you're going to be very soon in the process of catching up, but everyone is talking right now about Stranger Things season 4 part
And it's
1.
the 7 episodes drops.
And I'm not all the way caught up yet, guys. So please, no spoilers for Obi-Wan, no spoilers for Stranger
At least
Things.
on here.
And not here for anyone that hasn't watched. Believe me, there's probably threads in our group and plenty in other groups where they're talking all about it, and we welcome that.
Like I'm hearing about some song that like blew up on the show. I was like, okay.
Did you see what I posted though?
No.
The first time I heard that song was a cover of it by the band called Placebo, and I heard that in 2009 or 2010. WrestleMania 26. It was the follow-up
to 25 with
Taker,
Shawn and Taker.
And they played that song in the promo package, which is
remember.
fantastic. The promo package starts AA with Shawn getting the slammy for 25.
Yes.
And he's like, no, I want another shot at it. Let's do it again. And then the music starts, and it's all the first match, great moments clipped together, and it's so fucking awesome.
No, they always do a great job. Like everyone always says, what a great job they always do on the editing.
WWE editors are. You can say what you want about AEW and all that, but those guys are not to be trifled with. That is the tops, especially in those days, right? Remember that old, Austin Rock package.
That's when we're heavily invested in it, man.
I
mean, we got together on those 2 WrestleManias. Like a whole bunch of us got together and had a WrestleMania party for 25 and 26. Like we were so fucking hyped, especially when he said it was going to main event 26. We're like, man, we're gonna fucking watch. So it was like a fun time.
And I think I forget because it's overshadowed by 25 because
that
is the better match, but it's still a fantastic
No, it was
match.
still great. No, it still tore the house down. It was still the best fucking match of that card.
It was a time when they booked it right, where they put it at the end. Like, we're like, come on, put that one at the end.
Yeah, because it was like a Triple H main event, and it just sucked. The crowd was so into Shawn and Taker that by the time you got to the main event, it was fucking quiet. It was just like, even we were kind of like, okay, this kind of sucks after seeing that match,
I think Punk had matches in both of those WrestleManias too, and even though he's always great, those matches
it's just it's just different. This is just always different when you got 2 top-notch guys, that know how to do it.
Shawn and Taker, man.
Yeah, I mean they had done it in '97, and they just took it to a whole new level in WrestleMania 25 and 26. So.
25, their match I always say is my favorite match of all time.
Great.
The greatest match I've ever seen. I love it. And I did a top 5 matches. I would probably put 26 in there because that's what is still.
And
really
I bet
great.
if we see it, we're probably being blown away by even more now. So.
Yeah, especially now. So that's when I first heard the song "Running Up That Hill" by that. I thought it was by Placebo, but now I find out Kate Bush. It was a cover. Her cover is her original is wonderful as well. And yes, you do hear it in the show.
Yeah.
Stranger Things is great about picking music.
Oh yeah, it's the 80s, so I mean, that's kind of like the new 60s, 70s. So what our parents heard, that's for us now. So so.
But yeah, guys, I'm almost done with the first half. Me and Jess, my girlfriend, we're almost at the beginning of episode 7, so we're gonna finish that up. AA is gonna get caught up. Hopefully, we'll get to cover Stranger Things. I would very much love that.
I'm kind of surprised we haven't tried before. I don't think it's even really popped up like 2 or 3 or I'm kind of like
I know.
It's kind of
I don't
something
know.
we've leapfrogged over.
Yeah, it is, and I'm wondering. I'm like, man, like when was season 3? And
because
did we
it was
not...
like. Well, it's funny because
we've had a show for 2 years now, right?
Well, see, that's the thing though. It was kind of like Rob Liefeld was saying that he started watching with his daughter when she was 12, and now she's 18. So I was like, wow, have they really spaced it out that much? 4 seasons? They really spaced it out like that long?
Yeah, they spaced it out almost
like 6 years.
Game of Thrones ish, like a year in between, a year to make it.
Yeah, because like the kids are big, right? I mean, they're like fucking adults almost.
A little bit of that is kind of hard to like look at them and I'm like, oh, but they look really grown up. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
compared to the first season where they're like small,
Well, the one kid that was also in Ghostbusters Afterlife, he looks even older now. Oh no, Michael. He looks even older now in this show than he did in that movie, which wasn't that long ago. I'm like,
No, it
damn,
wasn't.
the kid's growing like a weed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. The other thing that popped up this past weekend was Top Gun.
Maverick.
That was the other kind of thing, that popped up.
And it's crushing it at the box office,
crushing
right?
it. His highest weekend he's ever had.
Oh, wow.
And that's saying something for this guy who's been around since like 82, 83.
Yeah.
Making movies. This is his highest single weekend.
Wow.
Gross. So people were fucking into it.
In the post-COVID era, too, right?
Yes.
And here's a guy that's like kind of known to be a box office draw. It was one of the old, A-listers.
Now I'm reading articles saying that could he be the last real big-time actor when it comes to stuff like this? Like the top grossing, like, Harrison Ford, Tom Cruise, those guys that were like big, like, their movies came out and they're big fucking movies.
Yeah.
People are saying, could he be the last actor, big time actor like that? Where it's kind of like you're watching it for him. You know what I mean?
Leo commands that? No?
He has Titanic and he has Inception, which I know Inception made like $1 billion, but like his movies always do well. Mm-hmm. But they're not like they're not like Indiana Jones, Star Wars. They're not like I said with Tom Cruise, with Top Gun and the Mission Impossible movies. He's kind of like there. He's a draw, but not like.
Do you think that The Rock could be that guy? Black Adam is on its way,
and
I think that
might be the one, because right now his biggest success have been in the Fast and the Furious franchise movies.
Yeah.
Even the Hobbs and Shaw, that's still Fast and the Furious.
Good point. He doesn't really have that
defined. Like Harrison Ford, you knew it was because of Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you saw the Indiana Jones movies because of Harrison Ford, the Star Wars. You saw, The Fugitive because of the Air Force One. Shit like that. You saw it because of it was Harrison Ford. So you know you're going to get something fucking big.
Absolutely.
Tom Cruise, you're going to get something big. You know what I mean?
No, it makes sense.
Mel Gibson was kind of like that too for a while.
Yeah.
The Mad Max movies, the Lethal Weapon movies, his directed movies, the Braveheart, the Passion of the Christ. It was kind of like, oh, it's Mel Gibson. Like we got to go.
Interesting.
Could he be the last?
You might be right. It might be that Tom Cruise is.
Like where you go because it's him. It doesn't matter what it is. You just go because it's that actor. Because we've seen the Marvel guys. They struck out. They strike out a lot of times.
That is true.
Downey doesn't really have a lot of big movies. Chris Hemsworth's movies kind of always bomb.
Who's kind of there a little bit? I would say Denzel. I'll sometimes watch stuff.
But see, his movies though, they're draws.
Right.
They're good movies, but they're not fucking
like blockbusters.
Yes.
Like summer blockbusters.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right on that. I was a time before the Oscars. I would have said maybe Will Smith was that guy.
Even him though, like his started diminishing bad.
Yeah, it's true.
He did After Earth, the M. Night Shyamalan movie. That one bombed. Ugh. The Gemini Man. Where it was supposed to be a younger version of him.
I saw it.
That bombed.
Sucked. Yeah.
Tom Cruise is still having kind of hits. You can even say the same thing with Johnny Depp. It was kind of like after a while, like his movies, even before all this trial shit, it was kind of like without the Pirates movies, his movies were kind of like they're kind of going down a lot, So
that would be a good segue into that pop culture news, I guess. Right?
No kidding. Yeah, I wasn't trying to, but
justice for Johnny has happened.
If you want to say so, apparently I read that both of them were guilty of defamation.
Yeah,
it's just that they declared him the winner because he's getting more.
Right.
Which I just read that the lawyer for her says she can't pay the $10.
Fuck.
Which I'm sure if he does care, fine. I'm sure he doesn't need it.
Yeah. Only fans. Here she comes, right?
Man, you know what? They're dropping her from DC. That was her fucking meal ticket.
Man. Yeah. And you know what? I had originally heard that the director was going to go to bat for her, but I guess it's like, ultimately, we know that they hold the keys to that kingdom. They're going to be like, we don't think so.
They already got too much problems with Ezra Miller right now that they're probably like, we don't need
They sure don't.
And Aquaman is actually a gold mine
Oh yeah,
for DC.
It was like the one hit they had out of
Yeah.
those, that little run. And can you
Yeah.
imagine if people started saying, "Well, we're going to boycott if she's in it"? They'd be like, "No, never mind. We'll take her out.
Yeah, like
we'll digitally scrub her out."
It's still enough time that they can do that without her. They said they're too. They said there was an article saying they're too in deep with Ezra Miller to replace him at this point.
Yeah.
Which I was like, I think that's bullshit because you got like 6 Batmans. So you really don't give a shit about Batmans.
I always bring up that fucking movie. I never saw it, or whatever, but where they scrubbed fucking Kevin Spacey like all the way out of it. They reshot all of his scenes with that.
Yeah.
I think it was like Christopher Plummer or something like that. They reshot all of his scenes with somebody else.
That's right.
And that movie came out or whatever. So, but to go back to Top Gun Maverick, I saw it. Fucking wonderful movie. I loved it. I'm a huge fan of the original. My dad is a huge fan of the original. I got to go see that with him, of course, and my girlfriend. We all three had a great time. We all three really loved it. We went at a matinee. It was still a pretty packed theater. It was great vibes.
Don't tell me anything, but at first I was like, okay, so they're keeping it to 36 years or however it's supposed to be. I was like, man, is Miles Teller that old? I was like, fuck, is he that old? And I checked and I was like, yeah, shit, he is 36 actually. He's like 36 on the dot. I was like, oh wow.
He looks good.
I thought he was like in his 20s still. I didn't know he was already fucking 36.
He still is very young looking.
It's young. No, it is. But I was like, holy shit, because I just saw him like in, I forgot what movie it was where he's like young. He's young in the fucking movie. I'm like, wow, and he's 36 already. I'm like, shit.
What a great actor he is, man. He's wonderful. I heard that Tom Cruise really, really was impressed with his look when he was like, man, you look like,
I've never seen it, but obviously they praise him a lot for that movie with J.K. Simmons.
Whiplash.
Whiplash,
yes.
Yeah. Where he said it's
the drumming.
Yeah.
It's intense. Yeah. That movie's fucking intense. That's a good movie.
And I love him. He played Vinny Panzianza. Bleed for This. I think that's a movie called. And I'm a sucker for
boxing movies.
Well,
I want to
movies.
see that one. Okay.
Sports movies.
Yeah.
And that's a great fucking movie. He did a great fucking job as Vinny Panzianza. That just a great movie. That's where I kind of really like. Okay, I like Miles Teller. Like, man, that movie. I was like, damn, he did a great job as Vinny Panzianza.
I didn't think he was a terrible casting for Reed Richards. Because he is that Reed Richards.
Yes, he is.
That's just a terrible movie. The cast is not terrible.
Yeah, because Michael B. Jordan, we
love that
fucking
guy.
Kills it. Yeah,
the gal that plays.
She's
Sue is good.
Man, she's part of that big family, that football family that once that owns the Rooney.
Oh, really?
Yes, they.
No shit.
Yes, they're part of the families that own the Giants and the Steelers.
Oh wow.
The Rooney Mara. The Maras own the Giants and the Rooneys own the Steelers, and they're somehow related to both.
That's good money to come from right there.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, shit, legendary franchises,
football cities. If you ever was
6 Super Bowls, 4 Super Bowls. I mean, yeah,
shit's hot too. So yeah, again, good cast. I mean, like they could have brought them into the multiverse and
who played
been
the thing.
That guy was like a nobody.
Okay.
He was maybe CGI or whatever,
Okay.
but the guy was small. I didn't like that. You thought they would have got like a big book, and the Doctor Doom guy sucked. Yeah, I mean it was. I mean he didn't have a lot to work with. Maybe that guy's a great actor, but in that movie he's not very good. And the movie is just not good.
Is it Al from American Psycho? Is that who played Doom? The bum from American Psycho?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, it's a young guy. He looks
okay.
dark haired.
Okay.
The whole cast is young.
Okay. It's just terrible.
I think that guy plays the dad. He plays Dr. Storm.
Okay.
That's what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, and they kind of explain like why Michael B. Jordan's a black guy and Sue is white. It's great casting for diversity, but you kind of like the normal going audience like, what happened here? But yeah, so guys, we get a chance to go see Top Gun Maverick. Go see it. It's a lot of fun. I loved it.
Yeah, so that's just killing it. Stranger Things is killing it. Obi-Wan right now is killing it, even though it's got a lot of backlash. The stupid Star Wars fandom is terrible.
Sometimes pop culture fandom can be kind of assholes.
Yeah, it is. So The Boys today, a lot of shit's going on.
Yeah. Did you catch the Willow trailer?
Yes, I did.
That would look like fun, right?
And my wife was like, "Why is it called Willow?" And she was like, "The movie's called Willow. Why is this called Willow?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't know."
That's actually an excellent point she raises. I didn't think about
know.
that. I guess they could have called it Willow something like they did with Dark Crystal, right?
Yeah,
it was Dark Crystal.
Or even like this, I was Top Gun Maverick.
Maverick. Yeah. Leave it to your smart wife to think about that, because I was like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. So
I
now,
just kind of like, I looked at her like, as the trailer was playing and the theme song was going, I just kind of like looked at her like stunned, like,
as you're enjoying it, you just got coming off of your afterglow.
like my face just fucking froze, like, what? And,
Yeah.
I mean, I liked it. It's cool. Hopefully it does all right. I don't know.
Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah,
I thought it looked cool.
It's just, it sucks because Val Kilmer's not. I mean, they say he's gonna be there, but I mean, it's not the same. It's just, it's not gonna be that Mad Mardigan. You know? I'm like, golly.
Yeah. Well,
he's a big part of that movie.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
golly.
He's a big part of Top Gun, the original as well, and I think anyone that's not living under a rock, no spoilers.
But at least that part, they, you can do something like that. With here, it's kind of like, it's different because he was so action oriented in fucking Willow,
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Amy is in the house. Amy says,
Hi, Amy.
The best duo this side of town is back. We hope to be the best duo on all sides of town, but on our specific side, that's good to know. Southeast, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, shit. Luchador loved us, South side.
Yeah.
South side or South
Shout out to El Luchador, man. South of Southtown.
Yeah, South of Southtown.
Amy says, I missed y'all. Missed you too, sis. As far as you watching.
This is funny. Also, I'm watching the Marvel movies in order, I think.
Yeah, she just did Captain Marvel the other day, and she was saying that the next one in line is...
okay. I think Disney does have it, right?
They have the order,
where you see it. I think Captain America is the first one, right? Or Eternals now.
You know what? No.
No?
Let's check Disney real quick, but...
I could have sworn maybe even Eternals or Cap, the first Avenger, would be the first movie.
She just watched Captain Marvel, and she told me, she goes, bro, the next one in the line is Iron Man. And I was like, I couldn't Marvel, put it in order in my head.
Yes, because remember, Captain Marvel takes place in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. So she says, let's see.
She goes, I'm on Iron Man 2 right now. Not my favorite one. No.
We have had many conversations about that film.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, as big as Marvel movies we are, like, there's a lot of Marvel movies that we just don't go. Oh, now you're going to the show too now.
Yeah, so it actually is not the whole show. It's just that one shot. So here's what Disney Plus says. Okay. It says Marvel Cinematic Universe in timeline order. Captain America, the first Avenger. Then the one shot Agent Carter. I think this is only like 30 minutes. I think.
Yeah, but still,
not the show.
Like, really?
15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, they put that one in. I guess because it's then you got Captain Marvel. Then it's Iron Man. Then Iron Man 2. Then a funny thing happened on the way to Thor's hammer. This is supposed to be right before or when they hammer the land.
In Mexico. New Mexico.
Right. Then you've got Thor. Then they put in this one, The Consultant, which is another one shot.
Watch all those.
Yeah, but they're so short.
I know, but still.
Did you watch the one? Is really good. The Iron Man one.
I still haven't seen the Mandarin.
Item 47, yeah. Then Thor: The Dark World, Iron Man 3. All Hail the King. That's the one that's really great.
That's a terrible double feature.
Which one?
Dark World and then Iron Man 3. Good luck.
I like Thor: The Dark World, so I'll catch some of those with you, sister. I'll brave it through with you. So you let me know when you get there.
Are you sure you want to do this?
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's some things that. See, then we get like. Here's a cool thing. It's like Civil War. Okay, see, then Black Widow, then Black Panther, then Doctor Strange.
See, that's a good one.
Yeah, you hit a good uptick right there. So you're pretty good there. Loki, What If, WandaVision, Falcon, Winter Soldier, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Hawkeye, and then Moon Knight.
I'm really surprised with the Eternals just because I thought,
some of the back and forth.
It's supposed to happen, I guess, after the blip.
Yeah. I think that's awesome, sis. That's a great.
And then Amy says on Agent Carter, that one is good because it shows what she's doing after Steve. And she goes, I do too, bro. And she goes, come on, Katsy.
There we go.
It's, like I said, they're not all hits. We talked about it.
So, my nephew's trying to watch Star Wars in the order that Disney Plus presented. But
and how was that one?
Well, he just finished episode.
But what are they doing? Like, what are they actually doing chronological order?
Yeah, chronological.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's doing it that way. So he did episode 1. He did episode 2.
We've talked about this too, and I've had to talk with my brother Will. It's kind of like, man, but you're gonna lose that Empire.
I know
part.
I realize watching him watch it. I realize it's better the way we saw it. Yeah, I realize that now.
I think so too.
It set us up to be like, what could we expect? You know what I mean?
I will forever. Or would it hurt more if you saw it from episode 1? Like you're seeing it, and then you hope after you see Obi-Wan telling Luke the whole story of the Clone Wars and all that, would it make you feel more emotional? Maybe. Now that you know the whole backstory of it, you see Obi-Wan as his hermit, telling Luke about his dad, telling him about the Clone Wars.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. I don't know. If you do. I just think for me, I realized I think the way we watched it was better. So, but here's the thing that Disney did that was weird. I thought Double A. He just finished episode 2, and he says he's going to watch the Clone Wars now. All of it, he says, but it doesn't have that Clone Wars movie first.
Okay.
And I was like,
you're talking about the animated one.
Yeah, and I told him, I said, it's weird that Disney doesn't put that first because you do need that. Because,
it was first, right?
Yeah, because especially that's where Anakin meets Ahsoka.
And they're not even counting the Lucas stuff anymore, right? Which is weird, right? The Samurai Jack.
No.
Which is weird because it does actually go into episode 3. That's where you find out how Grievous got fucked up by Mace.
And then that one Mace story is
about
fine.
Grievous.
Yeah, there's a Kit Fisto story, which is fine. I'm like, why does that?
Yeah, because it builds them up for the eventual showdown with the Emperor. You know why Mace has these fucking certain Jedis there. You know, why them? Why did he take them to go confront the Emperor?
But I think there's little things in between, because remember that show starts with him as a Padawan still, and then he becomes a Jedi Knight. There's little parts I do that don't fit. Too. Yeah,
the Jedi Knight. You hear why are now a Jedi Knight, and they all like. Yeah, give him the night thing.
There's a lot. I think that Clone Wars cartoon is fucking awesome.
I don't know why they said that was not canon.
That should be
stupid.
Canon. That should be canon in my opinion.
And he kind of teased Anakin. Remember going to the dark side when he's fighting Asajj Ventress.
Yeah,
that part where he's just like
I think they wanted something with her different too. That what happens in that one,
and it shows how he got the scar.
Yeah, it shows how he got the scar. Yeah, that guy Dirge appears.
I would highly encourage you guys to still watch the. Like, it was like 2 seasons worth of Star Wars. I think it's Star Wars Clone Wars. And there were only like a few episodes, and they were only like 3 to 5 minutes long. I mean, it was highly anticipated. I remember me and my brother it was like, okay, it's 6 o'clock. You know, and it's like, and we saw the 3 minutes, and they did so much within that 3 minutes that you're just like, wow.
I remember, I think I was recording it on VHS, and I just thought that it was fucking amazing.
It's great how what they did in that.
I had borrowed your, frame. Yeah. You know, those DVDs you have are rare. You cannot find
I didn't know that either.
And I had borrowed them from you for like 2 years.
And I forgot about that too. I was like,
and they're
like, if he hadn't told me anything, I probably wouldn't even have known. Like, he could have said that, oh, these are mine. Oh, okay, cool. Can I borrow?
I would never do that to Patsy.
But that's how it is, though. Yeah, you know, where I'm like,
I had my own set, and they got stolen when we got robbed one time, and only to never. If I ever ran across them at like, I should go look at CD Exchange and try to get a set. Sis, you said episode 2. Did I say episode 3? If I did, I apologize. I meant he's gotten through episode 2. Okay. I do realize how some of those are kind of talking heavy early on, and that's kind of hard for a kid.
It is, but now, I mean, you're seeing a love for them, though, so people love those, and you can almost say that about even like A New Hope.
Yeah,
A New Hope is very story heavy.
When the original trilogy was the only Star Wars we had, it was not my favorite.
It never was, but I can see why it was the phenomenon that it was, because, I mean, there's nothing like that before 1977. Exactly. So, yeah, I'm sure it's like everyone was like, holy shit,
Absolutely. Rizzo says, Amy, you can skip Eternals. Thanos can snap them out of existence. Jerry, what's up, my brother? Yo. Jerry, are you watching on not StreamYard, are you watching on the Facebook page, or are you watching on the group? I'm just curious because I can see your name and everything, which is great. And I did find out, guys, if you're watching us on the group, there is a way that you can go to a link via StreamYard and give StreamYard permission to use your name. I think it's just a quick, 2 clicks or something like that. So I'll post that up next time. I keep forgetting to do that, but I haven't recorded in a week and a half. So, Jerry, of course, love Star Wars, brother. Glad that you're here. How have you been enjoying Obi-Wan? We're not talking Obi-Wan, but I would just like to know how you're enjoying it. Because that's stuff that we definitely got to talk about. I know that you definitely love Stranger Things because I know you were doing that.
I mean, I've heard one person say, "I'm not a Stranger Things fan."
Yeah,
that's like one show I haven't heard anyone ever say like, "Oh man, Stranger Things fucking sucks."
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's not as toxic as the Star Wars fan.
No, Stranger Things is one of those kind of universally loved things. Oddly, Jerry, I also want to hear what you thought about the Willow trailer. Did you catch it? And I didn't see you say too much. I think you posted it in our group, but I didn't really hear what you thought. So I'd like to know, Rizzo, you as well, and Sis, if you haven't seen the Willow trailer, you should definitely go watch it.
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus. So
the trailer?
Yeah.
You can watch the trailer on Disney. Oh, great.
If you click going down, it'll say
trailers
coming soon.
Okay, wonderful.
And you can watch it.
the Andor trailer came out. Did you watch it?
Yes, I did, and it looks like you're going to go through apparently like what he said when he told her when he was like, "I've done a lot of things that wouldn't be very heroic, whatever it was." So it looks like they're going to kind of be showing him like that. I think I saw him like as a kid, or kind of like eventually growing to where he's at, where by Rogue One. So
if you guys don't know what we're talking about, Star Wars Rogue One. Fantastic movie, probably mine and Double A's second favorite Star Wars movie.
And are you going to include that one when you're watching it with your nephew? Like after Episode 3, are you going to show Rogue One?
Yeah. I told him that I think that it's important to watch.
When he reads A New Hope, he can kind of understand.
Yeah,
what it means, like when it says the rebels have stolen the plans to the Death Star, he's like, "Oh, okay, Rogue One."
I think that it's important to show, especially because that last scene goes right into it. Yeah. So, I would definitely tell him that he needs to watch that.
Right. I mean, it fits. It fits great,
and it's a great movie. I don't know if it's a great movie for kids, but it's a great movie. But I liked Cassian Andor. Again, he's the captain in Rogue One. That's where you first meet him and you first get to see him. I thought he was a wonderful character. In fact, I fell in love with Diego Luna. And I was like, Diego Luna is my fantasy fan casting for a solo Inigo Montoya movie taking place before The Princess Bride. Trademark that. Nobody steal that. I'm going to cut this clip out and put it on TikTok. Get some traction for it. Tag Mandy Patinkin. I'm looking forward to this show. Again, I feel like it might be a sleeper, unexpected like Mando, and then we end up having a lot of love for it. I hope, you know what I mean? Because he's coming back and he's great. And
obviously, you can't do too much with the Andor character, obviously.
Right. If you've seen
with Mando,
Rogue One,
you can kind of go
right
for however long you want with Mando. So
yeah, Jerry says dope shirts, guys. We appreciate that. Sure. Jerry also says he saw it. It was pretty rad. He said Willow was his jam back in the day. Us too. Gosh dang, we loved Willow.
My brothers had the board game.
Yeah, I think you guys had some toys too. Yeah, you were like the only guys I knew that had Willow toys. That one guy with the skull mask.
Yeah, my brother Will was a big fan of Kel.
Yeah, Kel. Yeah.
Huge fan of Kel.
I loved Mad Mardigan. I loved, I always love a swordsman. So if there's a swordsman in something, I'm for them.
My brother always loved those fucking dudes that just look super evil.
Oh yeah.
Kel. I mean, with the mask. And he's a big guy too.
He liked the Death Eaters, Voldemort. You're definitely right.
Yeah. Jerry says, the way he talked to you, right? Just that very gruff.
Jerry says, had a birthday party and we watched Willow and then had a water balloon fight. Good stuff. That sounds amazing. Rogue One is super underrated. Yeah, I know people that don't like it. I think it's our good friend.
It's weird.
Am I right, Jerry? But is it our good friend Anthony Caruso?
Anthony again.
He does not like Rogue One, I think.
Okay. There's a few movies I'm surprised that he just doesn't.
Yeah, there's some things don't register with Anthony, and I don't understand it. I love the guy, but it's just like, what's going on? What? You don't love that one? The last 5 minutes.
I think it's okay. The movie's like 7 years old already. The last 5 minutes alone, Vader. Yeah.
You know what, Jerry? I can watch that movie without that. It's all the more better for it. But I can watch it without that because it's really solid if it ends how it ends.
Just even without Vader, just how no one made it.
Yeah,
out alive. You're like, fuck.
It's like the Magnificent Seven, right? It's
and so it makes you feel even more like when you get to A New Hope, you're like, man, they really did make the ultimate sacrifice.
Or what's the other one that Tarantino always talks about? The Guns of the Navarone. There's one of those. It's essentially that type of like a war movie where no one makes it out alive. Like Butch Cassidy, Sundance Kid. I mean, it's the ending is beautiful. I love Chirrut Inouye and Baz. That story, I will cry a river during that shit. I was like fucking amazingly moved by that movie. Like, I was so moved by it that I was almost like, oh my God, is this one of my favorite Star Wars movies? I was
it jumped on my list. As soon as it was over, because I saw it like twice in the theaters.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's up there.
Yeah.
It's fucking up there.
Even though it was Star Wars, it wasn't like Star Wars that we knew. I felt like I was cheating on my girlfriend. I was like, what? I can't like this movie better than the Skywalker saga. This movie is so fantastic, man. Yeah. It's fantastic. It's a good regular movie without it being a Star Wars movie.
I mean, it's better than Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones.
Yeah,
it's better than I probably will watch it more than A New Hope, honestly.
Mm-hmm. I agree with all that you just said.
Maybe even watch it maybe more than Return, maybe.
Now you're going a little too
I know,
far.
that's what I'm saying. It's
You're
kind of like,
a little too far,
it's iffy on that one. That's always
I
kind of
get
iffy.
you, though.
But definitely better than the last three.
Yeah, you got it hanging right over there. You got the poster right over there.
Which he donated.
Right.
But I would definitely watch that one more than the last three. More than the first two, for sure. That's how I'm like, I can watch it more than A New Hope. I know that's like even sacrilege to even say.
No.
Because the original trilogy is like, oh, you can't touch the original trilogy. But I probably would watch Rogue One more than A New Hope, honestly.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll watch the first 5 minutes if I tie it to the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, right.
I'll watch them together in a little. We need a TNT style supercut like the Godfather 1 and Godfather 2.
Sometimes they do it like that, and there's a lot of times I don't understand why they don't include Rogue One more before you get to A New Hope. Sometimes they'll show 1, 2, and 3, and then they go straight to A New Hope. I'm like, man, that's a good point to throw in Rogue One.
Jerry says his helmet was awesome. I think we're talking about Cal still. He says it's
and
low on his list regarding Anthony and Rogue One.
And this is where it hurts me because, golly, this is my favorite. This is probably actually my single favorite Marvel movie.
It's like lauded as one of the best.
When I saw it, I was blown away. That elevator scene is always like my top scene.
Absolutely fantastic,
man. Where he tells him if anybody wants to get out.
Now
I'm like, I got goosebumps right now.
Steve's got the big sideburns in that one, and that first fight with him and Bucky is like, holy shit.
Yeah.
You know what it felt like? Trevlin and Bond in GoldenEye.
Yes.
And then the whole movie feels like an espionage flick.
It's a big spy movie.
Yeah, it's a spy movie. And it was so fun.
And it was perfect that they got Robert Redford, like the king of all that kind of shit.
Yes, right?
I was like, man, that ties it all in.
So good.
Yeah.
It's so good. Anthony, I need help. Explain to me.
Him and Black Widow were such a great team. That's a great fucking pairing right there. Him and Natasha.
Yeah.
Great fucking pairing.
Yeah, I love that. I loved her moments there. Jerry says better than Last Jedi. Yeah. Definitely better than The Last Jedi. Yeah.
And I think he was saying, whoa, because of where I'm putting Rogue One. But, I mean, honestly, you can, right? I mean, you can see it definitely more than the first two movies. Definitely more than A New Hope. And definitely better than the
I think Jerry's got 1 year on me age-wise, so there's certain things you can say about the original Star Wars.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
It gets people a little bit, and I get it. I still do love it. You know what I mean?
But, I like A New Hope, too. Don't get me wrong. I love that, too. It's a great movie. It's a great introductory movie, but I can probably watch Rogue One more than A New Hope,
I think I agree.
Now, Empire, though, Empire's still fucking number one. That is just a great
undeniable
fucking movie.
Yeah.
That's just a brilliant fucking movie.
I do not think that it will ever be moved off that.
I don't think so either. I haven't seen one thing that come close to Empire, because when you see Empire, you're just like,
there's people like me. Even if it's not your favorite Star Wars movie, you know that it is the best Star Wars movie.
There's only one other movie I felt like towards the end where I'm like, wow, they lost, and that was Infinity War. Yeah, I was like, wow, they fucking lost.
Which people call the Empire of the Marvel movies, right?
Because I'm like, wow, like they got their ass beat. Mm-hmm.
Bad.
Like Vader just completely shut down everything they did. Just boom, boom, boom.
It was not a good day in Star Wars.
He fucking kicked the shit out of Luke. He got Han Solo. It was, golly.
Yeah. If the first one was A New Hope, this one was like No Hope. Like, the Empire truly did strike that.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
Jerry says it's universally accepted as one of the best Marvels. Agree, Winter Soldier. I mean, like, it's if
like
you
I
asked
said,
me,
the Cap movies are the only ones that I actually like.
We have said on this show the greatest trilogy of the Marvel ones. So, political thriller. Yes, Jerry, agree. I see Jerry. It's
fucking Nazis in the White House.
I know. Dang it. It's so good. What? I don't get it. Somebody help Anthony. Empire can't be touched for real. No, I don't think it ever will be. So, good stuff. Man, we've talked a lot and hadn't gotten into the show yet, but I have one more thing that we do need to talk about, Double A, because this happened. I think we might have gotten to talk about it on our last episode had we have done one.
Probably not.
We didn't, but we have done a few episodes about mob movies.
Yeah.
And we lost one of the all-time great mafiosos, actors of our time, Ray Liotta.
Oh, man.
Passed away at like 67.
Unexpectedly. Very unexpected. He was filming a movie apparently, and he was just...
I need a drink.
He he died in his sleep in his hotel where he was staying at, where he was doing a movie. I was like, wow, Ray Liotta. Like, holy shit. It's funny because him, how I've been raving about like the 30 for 30s, right?
Yeah.
And I saw the one with Henry Hill. And Ray Liotta narrates that one.
No shit.
Yes. So I was like, man, I just saw that one where he's fucking narrating that whole thing, because you need to see that one, because it actually connects more to Goodfellas. You kind of see how they got Jimmy.
Okay.
That's how they got Jimmy, was because of that point shaving. Because he went to the witness protection program and he spilled his guts about all that, but it was because of that. I was about to ask,
why did 30 for 30? Why did ESPN do that? But the points, that's
yes.
right. Okay.
And so it's kind of like, damn. So that's because they really don't show it in Goodfellas. They just assume that he gave them away, but you don't know how they got Henry. And it's kind of like, that's how they got Henry.
Yeah.
That's how they, he started testifying against everyone, and you see where they go to the courtroom scene.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's cool because, like I said, it's narrated by Leota. So
where do you watch this? Can you stream them? Are they on Hulu?
If you have...
Or you need the ESPN Plus.
You know what? Yeah, you need the bundle.
I get that.
Yeah, because that one's not on Disney Plus yet. Yeah. Disney Plus has been kind of
grabbing some of them,
and kind of throwing them out there. So.
Yeah. What do we got here?
We got a Facebook user that says hi.
Hi, Facebook user. Facebook user. I'm about to post the link. I'm trying to find it real quick. Post the link so that you can give StreamYard permission to use your name. Jerry says, wish I could stay longer, but I got to put the kids to bed. Have a great show, guys. Image Comics. Just Jerry, if you get a chance later, if you don't get to come back on, at least post us your thoughts. I want to hear what you think about the Image 7, what they did for the industry. What was your favorite?
The impact of Image.
Yeah, the idea they had. I would love to hear your thoughts on that if you get a chance. After the kids are in bed, come on back, Jerry. We love having you here. Love hearing your opinions. But even if you don't get to come and hang out, just at least post us a paragraph of your thoughts. I'd love to read them, as you always have such wonderful insights on things like this. Facebook user that said hi again. Let me see if I can really quickly get you the link for the to gain use here. I don't know if anybody saw today. I changed my Facebook profile picture. This is a little bit off topic here, but Double A gave me a moment here, so I'm gonna talk about it. But I was about to go to the gym at work and work out. Of course, I got to plug myself that I was going to go do that. And I get there, and my good buddy from work, John, says to me, he says, hey, man, I just saw that David Robinson is over at the restaurant across from our office, and it looks like he's meeting people and taking pictures. And I'm like, what? No way. I'm like, okay, like I'll go, and see what I could do. I just had barely my shoes off, so I put my shoes back on, and I'm like, I'm going to go out there. David Robinson. Okay, interesting. Let's go back a little bit here, right? So I'm going to go. This morning, I'm looking at just some videos that come up on my Facebook feed, and I see this video that's, the great legendary Spurs center, David Robinson, whatever. It's a good little highlight one, and Double A is really good about posting highlights about different sports. Personalities, and so this video happened to come up or whatever, right? And so I'm like, oh man, the David Robinson video I posted, I was like, I got to post this up, right? So I put it up, not knowing, right, what was going to happen today,
man. Yeah.
And so
that's fucking great.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, okay, you know what I mean, like, I put that video up, great video of David Robinson kicking major ass. And then I wore my Spurs polo that I have today to work, whatever. It's casual Friday. So I was like, oh, they wore my sports polo.
That was just great.
And then I get that news. I just told you guys I'm at the gym, and, I get told, like, hey, David Robinson's there. And I'm like, let me head on over and see what I can make happen. Sure enough, I get over there. And
real quick, Louisa.
Yes, I can, Louisa. Thank you so much. Hey, what's up, cuz?
Awesome.
Weezer, I appreciate you being here. I can see your name now. Please tell us how you did that. Sorry, I clicked away for a second. But I'm glad that you're here, cuz. All the way from Del Rio, Texas.
Hey,
so we appreciate that. And Jerry, all the way up in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Fort Worth. Do we call it DFW? I don't know, Jerry. I don't know which part you're closer to, the D or the FW. So let us know if you come back. But yeah. But anyway, so I head over there. Unfortunately, it looked like he was sitting down eating dinner with his family. But then I was kind of seeing that it looked like his family was there, but it was part of an event. So he got up and he was going to be on his way out. I waited. I didn't bother him while he was eating, and I got to say something to him. And I just was like, I actually called him Mr. Robinson, right? Mr. Robinson's neighborhood, which San Antonio is. I just said, Mr. Robinson, would you mind taking a picture? And he, of course, famously polite and nice to everyone. Everyone that wanted a picture with him there, he took the picture. He smiled. He was extra polite. He shook my hand, and he made sure that this is a picture while we're shaking hands. I'm like, here I am shaking a, greatest 50 players of all time hand
yeah.
that this man blocked people's shots from Jordan to Olajuwon
Shaq,
to
Olajuwon, Ewing,
I'm like,
Mourning, Mutombo.
this is the hand that blocked these
Yeah.
dudes. This is the hand, that got, 3 of our rings, here in San Antonio. Amazing, quick moment. Again, nothing overly whatever.
No, you look at his stats and you're just like blown away by what this man was doing.
Yeah.
Golly.
So incredible moment at the cap of a odd day where I don't normally you post the sports stuff. I happen to post that video today. Then it's like I wore my Spurs polo and then I meet Dave Robinson before I come to podcast. So what a great moment. I needed an anecdote while you were gone. But that was my anecdote. So yeah, very, very cool moment, guys. David Robinson, Spurs legend, NBA legend.
Yeah, NBA legend. Yeah.
In my opinion. The greatest center of all time. And when it ever do it, you know what I mean? Double A's got the hat on right there. That's how you know we get down here in San Antonio. But Double A is back now. I think we're ready to get into it, right? Almost 45 minutes into our show.
We
guys,
kind of went long.
But it was fun. We had to catch up, right? We had a whole week.
We had 2 weeks, of catching up.
And you know what? We're in no rush. We got beers that need drinking, so we're going to be here or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, guys. You know that we are huge comic book fans, and Double A gave me this idea, presented the idea for this episode a while back, and he was like, I don't know when we'll do it this year, but let's figure out when to do it. Couldn't come at a better time than on the heels of a few weeks ago, me getting to meet one of these legends, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're looking at the shirt Double A has on right now, the legend I got to meet,
we've actually, me and TM have actually got to meet 3 of them.
3 of the. They should call them the Magnificent Seven or whatever, but 7 of the most influential artists in all of comic books. But yeah, the one I met a few weeks ago, Mr. Rob Liefeld, drew this cover that is on Double A's shirt right there, the New Mutants. That's the first appearance of Deadpool. Right there. Mm-hmm. Very, very famous comic book. Very, very expensive now. And I'm wearing one of the other ones, his art, Mr. Jim Lee, who drew this famous cover of the X-Men. Thank you, Jess, for this wonderful shirt. I think we found at Target.
Nice.
Which we'll kind of get into it, right? Look at this. These guys' shirts their art is on shirts that is just available at one of the largest retailers in the world. Like, literally anybody could go into a Target and get a shirt that Jim Lee's art is on.
And not just that, we've seen shirts by Rob, by Jim Lee, and one of the other guys, Todd McFarlane.
Mm-hmm.
You can find Venom shirts just about everywhere you go. He is a co-creator of Venom, along with Spawn, but he was also famous on his Spider-Man run.
Right.
So, I mean, golly, you have 7 of the founders were hugely big-time artists, but 3 of them were the big sellers that kind of, I think, really helped legitimize the start of this company. Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane.
When I think about this company, they are the Thor, Cap, and Iron Man to me. They're the big 3. They're the they were
the million. They were the seller, the ones that were selling millions and millions of copies of comics. Yeah. I mean, it's fucking insane.
Yeah, guys, and so I mean, the company that we're talking about, their 30-year anniversary. So obviously they've endured. Image Comics, guys. Image is everything, people say, right? And it really was to these guys. We wanted to come on here today and celebrate 30 years of them being in the comic book industry, changing the game from a place where we know that there are a big 2, big time, and we know that these guys worked for these big 2, whatever, and that's Marvel Comics and DC Comics.
And it's funny that you put Image as everything, because they said that's where they got the name.
Yeah.
From the Andre Agassi commercial. Image is everything.
That's right. Talk about the movie that we watched, Double A. Free on YouTube. About an hour.
An hour and 21 minutes. It's called Image the Revolution.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's a really great deep dive. And there's also another program from the Secret History of Comics with Robert Kirkman, where it's like an hour of the Image.
I saw it's not free anymore.
No, it's not free. But I bought the series on Amazon. So
you did?
Yeah, because I wanted to watch it. I like watching it. I like watching it in the background. Okay, so Todd McFarlane is kind of like the guy that kind of starts everything off. He's a guy that's
just getting a link for you guys real quick, but go ahead.
He's a guy that's kind of like is the superstar artist from Marvel first. He did a run on Hulk that's hugely influential, and then he jumped on Spider-Man and just made Spider-Man one of the biggest selling books. Spider-Man was kind of lagging. X-Men was the big dog, and he comes along. He makes Spider-Man more kind of like Spider-ish. His movements, the webbing is probably what he's most famous for. Is the Spider-Man web? Kind of make it. They call it what the spaghetti webbing.
Yeah,
like his webbing. Like it was totally
it's got
different.
Like the lines and then the wrap.
Yeah, it was like totally different. It was just he kind of reinvented.
So rad.
He reinvented
So
Spider-Man,
rad.
and it caught on with the readers. And his stuff was starting to sell more and more. Then you got Rob Liefeld that was coming in working on, New Mutants. It was a low selling book. Like they were about to cancel the book. He comes up with Cable, Domino, Shatterstar, Deadpool. That book starts increasing, and then he gets X-Force. Jim Lee comes along. He's doing Punisher, but he really makes his mark when he jumps with Chris Claremont on the X-Men books. Redesigns their whole costumes. Makes them look sleeker, makes them look badass. X-Men becomes... It's already the best-selling book, but it becomes like just a juggernaut of a book. No one's even catching up. These three guys, in a few years' time, Todd McFarlane gets his own book. They give him his own Spider-Man book, and it's like it sells like 2 million copies. Number one. Then Rob Liefeld's next with X-Force. That one sells 5 million books. And then X-Men Issue 1 comes in with Jim Lee. That sells 8 million books. I mean, it's just fucking nuts.
Insane.
I mean, comics hadn't sold that much before, and they definitely haven't sold like that after.
Since, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just 8 million books, 5 million, 2 million. It was like, golly.
Yeah. Double A, I mentioned this kind of earlier before we started the show. I don't mean to interrupt you.
No.
But the Spider-Man book you talked about with Todd, they say in the show, right, they're like, Spider-Man already had like a couple books.
Yes.
They gave him a solo book just for Todd.
It was Amazing Spider-Man, The Spectacular Spider-Man, Peter Parker Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man, and then this one was just called Spider-Man. So it was like 5 books that I can think of right on top of my head that he already had. But this one was just all Todd.
Yeah.
Story, art, everything was Todd.
And Double A, the one that number 1 is the one that you mentioned that sold,
with the
right?
famous cover too. It's Spider-Man like that, with the webbing. It's been copied multiple times.
They always do homages to that one
Every time.
So Double A, is it hard to come by that book?
I've seen it here and there for a pretty good price. Not too bad, 15 to 20.
Okay,
so not too bad. There's like, of course, there's like different versions of it. There's like one I think that's like gold,
and then like a platinum,
silver,
one,
or
right?
platinum, gold, and another one.
Okay,
they have like maybe 3 variants, I believe.
I wouldn't mind snagging a copy.
It's cool just because of where it was at the time. It was the highest selling comic when it was released.
Did he do any work, Double A, on those 4 hologram covers that are pretty?
No.
Okay. Todd's not on any of those.
No,
right?
he did he started off like around Spider-Man 298.
Okay.
And he left like around 310.
Now, what about Eric Larsen? You said he took over after.
Yes,
Todd,
he took
right?
after our next. Eric Larsen, and his art doesn't really start off. And when you're not too familiar, I pulled some issues out from Eric Larsen.
So for our audio listeners that won't get to see these visuals, go check out our YouTube channel. Search Just Another Friday Night.
And you're going to see, like, he doesn't really go too far off from McFarlane. Here's one of them. You can kind of see he kind of keeps...
Very nice. Yeah,
he kind of keeps the style.
There's his name. Yeah, definitely.
Here's one of them. It's a very famous cover with the Sinister Six. And if you didn't know, I mean, you would have thought maybe that's McFarlane. Here's his version of Spider-Man and Wolverine.
Also, check these out on Spotify if you're watching. If you're listening on Spotify, you can watch them. This is Larsen's art, right? Yeah, that's a great one.
And then one more time, you can kind of see he still kind of keeps that look of Todd almost.
Yeah, I guess this is kind of like the. Would you call it like a less bulky Spider-Man? Like he's got like a more slim body.
Liefeld says that he kind of went back to the Ditko era, where Romita made him buff.
Buff.
He went back to the Ditko where it was skinny and more, like I said, Spider-Man.
Cut. Yeah.
Insect,
yeah.
too. You know?
Insect, like
the knees over the head.
Those famous poses. Yeah. I love that. Like, you really see that the agility of Spider-Man in those.
Yes.
That great art.
And so, Eric Larsen comes in, too. And, he's, it's like two guys from the Spider-Man studio. Big time. Like, Eric Larsen, I don't have some of his more classic covers, but he has, he's the one that's credited with giving Venom the drool and the tongue. He's the one that's credited with that.
Okay.
Which is cool because that's Venom. Like, everything about Venom is always
that's a Venom hallmark now.
Tongue. Yeah. And I love his drawing. He's a good drawer. His stuff on Savage Dragon looks probably better than his stuff on Spider-Man. So they got Larsen. So that was another big pickup. It was like two of the big Spider-Man artists. The other guy they get is Marc Silvestri.
Yes.
If you're not too familiar with Marc Silvestri's work, he's very lauded on his X-Men work. There's
wonderful
some of the covers
stuff on the.
I don't know if you remember that one from Genosha.
Yeah, that's an awesome one, man.
There's Marc Silvestri's work.
Again, guys, check us out. If you're not listening to us on YouTube or Spotify, check us out there on Spotify. If you're just listening to us, you can see the video on there as well. Oh, I think I own that one. That's a great cover.
That's another Silvestri.
I did not know that was Marc Silvestri. That's great. I own that one too. Yeah.
Marc Silvestri.
Wonderful art. We're looking at Wolverine here. Then we looked at Wolverine and Sabretooth. Oh, the classic where Logan is crucified on the X.
Yep.
Great looking
the
issue.
Inferno story.
Ooh,
he
Mr.
worked on
Sinister.
that. Yeah, he worked on that one, the Inferno, and the other kind of famous cover.
Oh man, those are great.
Yeah.
That classic Sabretooth with the fur around the wrists and the
so this is Marc Silvestri, which Rob Liefeld always lauds as the best of the seven. He's always saying that he's probably the best illustrator out of the whole seven.
That's who Liefeld says.
That's who, in his opinion, which he said multiple times, that he thinks he's the best out of all the seven. And I mean, a lot of these X-Men covers are classic covers from the Silvestri run.
Those are very iconic.
So I mean, that was a big pick. Marc Silvestri, huge. He predates Jim Lee.
Oh,
and then Jim Lee kind of takes over from him.
I believe they say in the movie that Jim Lee was last almost.
He was the last one. Then Jim Lee was like, when he makes his pick, he's like, can I invite Whilce Portacio?
Yeah, Whilce Portacio.
Whilce is a great fucking artist. We've met him.
Wonderful guy. Very nice.
Creator of Bishop. That's kind of like his thing.
Nice.
His art really doesn't look too far off from Jim Lee, I don't think. There's little differences.
I would have thought that was a Jim Lee cover.
Right?
Yeah.
This is one of them.
We're looking at X-Men number 297. What is it? 281.
281.
Sorry, I'm trying to read it off the screen backwards.
This is probably his most famous cover.
That is Bishop's first appearance right there, right?
Yeah. Which he only charged 10 for this one, which I was like, cool.
He signed that for
his
you.
autograph. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And this one. So it's kind of like, damn. So you got 4.
That was X-Men
281, 282, and 283.
Great Bishop and Storm cover.
So you got 4 huge X-Men artists. You got Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Marc Silvestri, and Whilce Portacio. You're like, ooh, man, that was a really big blow to the X-Men studio. It's like, golly, you're taking like the big sellers. And then the last one, or the other one, probably the guy with the most experience out of the whole 7, Jim Valentino. He was kind of known for the Guardian stuff.
He was the older guy in the room. Now, AA, is that a book? You're showing a Guardians book. Guardians of the Galaxy issue what there? Guardians of the Galaxy issue 13. Now, is this a book you bought for his work, or were you...
Actually, it was Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider.
It was supposed to be like, you know how Punisher became Ghost Rider, Cosmic Ghost Rider? This was like, is this the Ghost Rider of the future? It's kind of like the 31st and he's in space.
Oh, cool. Is this supposed to be Frank Castle here?
No, that's the thing. It was kind of like, oh, wow. So maybe they already had done it,
Interesting.
Yeah, so, I mean, all these guys you can see, they're really, really great artists. I mean,
wonderful artists.
Really badass artists. They're really well known. And
it's all Marvel guys.
Guys.
None of these guys were
DC.
working on DC.
No DC.
Yeah. I think I may have misspoken then in my
No.
opening.
McFarlane did work for DC. He has a very famous Year 3 Batman
cover.
Yeah, where it's kind of like you get the idea for Spawn, the cape.
They're making a figure out of that.
They are.
They made that
yes,
figure
they are.
out of that. And it's really made it already.
Oh, and Rob Liefeld had worked for DC before for Hawk and Dove. They're saying he's the
nice.
creator of that dove that you see in Teen Titans.
Oh, very badass.
That's his
Oh,
dove.
cool.
Not
Liefeld.
the old one, yeah.
No shit.
Not the
I did
old
not
dove.
know
It's
that.
his. Yeah.
How
So he
awesome.
says Minka Kelly is his dove that he created for DC.
Very cool.
Yeah, so
I didn't know that.
So yeah, so like McFarlane, Rob have ties to DC. I don't think any of the other guys do. I think those are all Marvel guys.
Okay.
But I mean, man, you're getting it from the two top studios in Marvel. You know, the Spider-Man studio and the X-Men studio. God, you just think that's like, man, that's gotta hurt.
Now, Double A, did we say exactly what happened here? Now, we're talking about these 7 great artists and their work, but did we say what's about to become
So-
that in essentially is the birth of Image Comics?
So one thing is pretty much just about any gripe any of us have. You're making money for this large corporation. You're starting not to really feel appreciated, even though you're selling. They're having probably record months. You know, selling 8 million, 5 million, 2 million. You know, right off the bat, it's like, golly, we just helped you sell all these comics, and we're still not getting shit for it.
Right. Right.
You know, all these characters that we're creating, you own now. You
Yes.
know, and that was kind of like a big thing. It's kind of like, well, we create them, but we don't own them anymore. That kind of sucks. You know, we're not getting appreciated. You know, you guys aren't giving us raises. You're not giving us more per page.
Let's
You know,
talk about that a little bit, Double A. So Todd McFarlane, and I know this is debated, but creates or co-creates Venom.
yeah. Now it's like very debated.
Very debated. Okay, right. And we say though, like one of the iconic things that Venom has is like the tongue and the drool, which is Eric Larsen. Now, some persons that we definitely know that Rob Liefeld co-created. I know people are going to say co-created, but drew them the idea for them. Deadpool, Cable,
Yes.
Domino,
Shatterstar.
I mean, these are like that's pretty much all X-Force right there. Like the guy kind of created
and
X-Force.
it's storylines that are still being used. Honestly, being used. Strife. He's
Strife.
still being used.
Yeah, you just said Whilce Portacio with Bishop. I don't know if Jim Lee. Did Jim Lee
Gambit.
have anyone? Gambit,
Omega Red.
Yeah. I mean, like
Yeah.
Again, you'll always have the debate of like who's the creator? Is it the writer? Is it the artist or whatever? But again, I do say that in comic books, the artist kind of does do the heavy lifting because they draw it out or whatever. They're thinking like, well,
especially if you're doing the Marvel method, which is very heavily based on the artist. The artist is pretty much drawing out. The writer's giving the notes, and Liefeld has said there's writers that will give you brief notes, and then there's guys like Alan Moore that gives you like a whole book of what he wants.
who says this?
Rob Liefeld.
Oh, Rob Liefeld.
He says
Okay,
that
nice.
Alan Moore is very detailed in his notes.
They work together.
They have worked together
Oh, I did not know
before,
that.
but like he says that he gives out like a pretty sizable notes.
Yeah.
Where like Jack Kirby, I said like Stanley is like, create me a god for the new Fantastic Four,
Right.
you know, and it's Galactus, and it's kind of Kirby that's kind of fleshing out the whole story. We don't know, honestly, we don't know, and David Michelin does make a good point on the Venom. He says he's already had Venom in mind way before McFarlane came on. But again, it's kind of like, well, but is Venom how you imagine it would be when Todd drew him?
Exactly. It's almost like he said,
That's the
hey,
thing.
give me this black goo alien. Okay. And then Todd makes Venom. I mean, it's like, well, if you still say black goo alien and then Todd draws that, it's still kind of like co-create. It's hard. We've got debated about this.
Yeah, while I'm inclined to...
Welcome back, Weezer. We appreciate you being here.
Well, I believe that Rob Liefeld is a creator, sole creator, is because he is the artist. He had the look down. He had the story down. He had everything down. It was just somebody like, hey, can you just write the script?
Right.
But he's pretty much telling the guy how he wants the story to go. That's why I do. I mean, it's cool that they give Fabian kind of co-creator and Luis co-creator, but like he said, Cable was already fleshed out.
Yeah.
Luis didn't have any input on the look, on the story, who he was, where he was going to be, the time traveler. Everything was his. The time traveler. He said he already knew Nathan was going to be Cable. That was already planned.
This is Rob.
Yeah.
Saying that.
Like he already said that's planned. Because he makes a joke saying how Chris Claremont gets money from Cable. Because, he's Nathan Summers. So it's like it's funny that Claremont gets money for that too.
And it's interesting, right? Because if an artist has that much detail about the character, but yet I have this like X-Men story I'm plotting, and it's like I don't know, Age of Apocalypse, right? And like I include your character. Yes, he's still a time traveler. He's still the son of
Cyclops.
Cyclops. And it's like, but what do we read a lot of times? We'll read like an iconic story. I mean, look at what we're talking about right now. Even the shirts we're wearing. It's
Yes.
like, these are the stories that we liked. Or the book I asked you about. It's like you didn't buy it for Valentino's art. You bought it because it was Ghost Rider.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like and we're gonna get into that a little bit, right? Because it's like I don't think I think I. Oddly, I think I do own issues of like Wildcats and like Pit, so that, but I just have them. I wasn't like a fan of them. You know what I mean? So
and we'll get into that more because that's kind of like the gripe of the early image.
Mm-hmm.
Was that
gorgeous art?
And that's
undeniably
gorgeous art. Why they got the label "image is everything."
Yeah. And it seemed like comic book fans were into just that, right? I mean, we've known...
It was a different time in the 90s. It was something different. It was something fresh.
Mm-hmm.
DC and Marvel weren't doing stuff like that.
Do you think AA, now looking back, do you think that collectors at that time, thought that this was the next Action Comics number one?
No, they made it a point in both documentaries. They made it a point saying that, they thought it was going to be... They thought because these guys were shit hot, that this was going to be...
I'm going to get this. I'm going to keep it mint, and in 20 years, this is the next, Amazing Fantasy number 15.
And I think that's kind of what drew it. But I mean, it's just really based on their popularity and their just how badass they were. I mean, that people were like coming in droves to come and get these books.
Well, these are pretty young guys, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think Rob is the youngest.
McFarlane was about 26, 27 at this time. Valentino was the oldest.
The oldest, right. Yeah, he was.
But Silvestri was like in his 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Rob was like early 20s.
Yeah.
Jim was a little bit older. Jim Lee was a little bit older. Whilce was a little bit older than him. So, I mean, they're guys in their 20s.
Yeah.
That are just like rocking and rolling. They're millionaires.
Megastars of the comic book world.
Yeah.
In the documentary that we watched, again, The Image Revolution, free on YouTube. Go check it out. We highly suggest it. They're saying there was helicopters in the air. There was police detachments there.
Came, and he said he was a huge fan of Rob Liefeld. Loved the shit he was doing.
I mean, how fucking cool is that?
Right? I mean, this is EZE in the 90s, early 90s, when NWA was just shit hot.
The height of gangster rap and that stuff. Like I said, NWA and that stuff. I mean, but...
He's talking about wanting to work with Rob Liefeld. You got Spike Lee directing a fucking commercial for
Levi's, right?
With Rob Liefeld.
I told AA, I will never forget that commercial because I remember thinking that it was so cool that I was like, I don't think at that time...
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know what comic book artists, writers look like.
The only one I'd ever seen was probably Stan Lee.
Stan Lee.
Yeah. I was like, so when I'm like, wow, that guy is like a young guy or whatever. You know what I mean? And he's talking about, I started drawing when I was this age, whatever. And my mom did. That commercial, you can go watch it. It's for Levi's Buttonfly. It's on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
I mean, like, and Spike Lee directs it, and Spike Lee's in it. He even draws Spike Lee as a character.
What do you call him?
The Spike Man.
Yeah, the Spike Man.
The Spike Man.
Where it's like, you got a camera on your head and it records the wrongdoings of what people are doing.
Right.
Like, oh, that's cool.
It's also plays into his, being a director. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, wow. Like, I remember, like, seeing that commercial just being like, dude, like, comics are fucking it.
See, and for me, too, seeing him, Todd was, like, for me, my first superstar. Mm-hmm. Like, he's, like, kind of like the first guy I knew. I knew Stan Lee. Mm-hmm. But Todd was kind of like the first guy that I was, like, enamored with.
And why was that? Spawn. The animated series on
cartoon.
HBO. Yeah. Because he opened the show, right, in the all-black suit, with the black shirt, the black tie.
Very creepy.
Very creepy, man.
I loved it.
Dude, and he was so cool. Like, where's Todd from? Is Todd a New Yorker? He comes off like a New Yorker.
Yes,
yeah, he's so New York.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
And just, he's like, have you ever wanted something so bad?
Yeah, like, I was watching the first episode, he's like, real quick, you got a few seconds. The devil tells you you can see your wife again, but you have to sell your soul to hell. What would you do? Really? Yeah. What would you do?
Yeah.
And come on.
And he's like 5 seconds. Time's up. You're like, fuck, man. And it's like the creepy music. And he's sitting there. And what's cool is he's kind of drawing, right?
He is drawing.
He's trying to draw, but he
it's
turns
so
around
neat
to face the camera.
with his pen, because you're seeing all the details he's putting and everything. It's like, man, it's so fucking cool to see these guys work. Like, sometimes I'll watch Jim Lee. Jim Lee has a YouTube channel where he's just sketching real quick. And I'm just like watching, like, in awe. But Todd McFarlane was like the first guy for me. I've told Mario this when we had our episode with Mario. Spawn Issue 1 was the first comic I ever bought. like that was my first issue, Spawn issue 1, at Collector's Authority,
Yeah.
based on Todd McFarlane, the cartoon. I was so fucking enamored with it. I love the lore. His is probably the one out of all the 7. Spawn is probably the story I just drew into the most.
Mm-hmm.
The battle between heaven and hell.
Oh yeah.
Al Simmons, this fucking government assassin, that he thinks he's doing for God and country, but he's doing evil stuff.
Oh yeah.
His soul gets sent to hell. He makes a deal if he can see his wife, he'll lead the armies of hell. But then, the devil kind of tricks him. He sends him back 5 years later with the body 5 years later. So it's all fucking decomposed.
Burned up, decomposed, yeah.
And Wanda's married to his best friend now.
Terry.
And it's kind of like, golly, and then there's this demon violator. It's kind of like, damn, like he's the one that kind of trains the hell spawns, but he's like an asshole.
Oh yeah.
He's just a big fucking asshole. He's dressed like a clown. I think they said it was kind of the John Wayne Gacy kind of
mad clown
look.
Yeah.
I mean, Violator's drawn so great. Malboja's drawn so great. Spawn looks great. I actually dug the writing on that. People say the writing was weak on Spawn. I actually liked it. Spawn was the series I thought for me was the best, and it proved to be. I think it's like the best selling book of Image. It's the highest selling independent comic, but it has to be the highest selling book for Image.
Over 300 issues now. It continues to be. I think people are, number one, so enamored with the look. Spawn has such a fantastic
and he drew
look.
when he was in high school.
Is that
That's
right?
what's fucking crazy about it. Yeah.
I mean, like, if you look at Spawn, there are things between him and Venom that are similar. The black face, the big kind of white eyes, you know what I mean? But of course, Todd added the inner eye with the green, the necroplasm. I mean, there's so much. Double A, would you say, I'm thinking about this because we're talking about, like, how we'd never seen guys, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
After Stan, would you say that Todd is the next most recognizable face of comic books? Because
I would have said for sure for a long time.
Because he's the only guy that, like Stan, like talks to the audience. That like people know him. That he's very vocal.
Very vocal. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And we're going to talk a little bit about how the guy has no love for Marvel.
It doesn't seem like
now.
It's
eased up.
It's eased up a lot more. But man, if you look at like the 90s to maybe even the 2000s, it was kind of.
Has he done work for them recently?
I don't think he's come back, but I think he's eased up. I think he does some of their toys, and shit like that. Like he even did a pretty cool drawing for, I think it was Comic Spider Guide. He did Spawn on top with Spider-Man on the bottom.
Nice. I haven't seen that.
It's a cool image.
Let's post that.
And that was kind of like, everybody was kind of like stoked because it was the first time he drew Spider-Man.
In a while.
In a long fucking time.
That's cool, man.
I mean, you gotta be proud. I know he probably doesn't love Marvel, but I mean, like he said he saw the Venom movie.
Okay.
He was at the premiere of the Venom movie.
Nice.
And he said he loved the way they did Venom.
Yeah.
Like he goes, finally, they got my Venom
the look.
on screen. The big. He's
a big
he's
guy.
Fucking, he's huge. He's tall.
That's awesome.
So he was there. So, I mean, I would still say he maybe has a better relationship now than what it was in the 90s. But, I mean, I'm sure now he's the... he's a businessman now. Like I said, the McFarlane toys became
toys.
Became his own thing. McFarlane's. It's like that's like a thing. Have you got the new McFarlane's? No. I'm saying like that's like the thing that people ask now.
Oh right.
Like, hey, or you got the McFarlane's in the back? It's the McFarlane's.
I'm in quite a few toy groups and I talk with toy guys quite a bit. I don't really know where like the great guys like Zach and the Collecting Weekly guys stand on it. That I haven't had a full chance to catch up with all their episodes. But I've talked to some other collectors, like good friend Nate. He's buying a lot of the DC stuff right now, the DC Multiverse toys, whatever. Those are made by McFarlane.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah, and I look at what the equivalent line is on the Marvel side, and it's like, it's good, but it's not that good. Like, those are much nicer.
And Liefeld actually has a whole podcast dedicated to McFarlane toys.
Really?
And it's great.
Okay.
And he says... he paid just like 10 cents more to get a more realistic look for his toys. That just the more money and the more detail was what catapulted Todd to just surpass every other toy maker.
Yeah.
and I loved it. It was a good. You really need to hear that episode. That was a really.
I would
good
love
episode.
to hear that one. Yeah, even back in the day, remember when we were getting stuff? He was doing wasn't he doing some of the horror stuff and all that? And
he was doing the horror. He was doing the baseball.
Yeah.
He was doing the footballs.
Yeah,
my brother has a lot of the McFarlanes.
The details.
Yeah.
The stuff that,
Yeah,
I think he might have done the.
Let me see real quick.
Well, after starting lineup, those toys sucked balls for sports. Then they started doing these bigger, more detailed figures, and you were like, "Man, who's doing those? Those are so outstanding." And I'm pretty sure that it was McFarlane.
Okay, so like this one's a Tim Duncan, which I just love. It has the 5 trophies.
I
2
own
MVPs,
this figure too. It's so fantastic.
There is his label right there,
which is the Spawn face.
McFarlane
very
toys.
great.
But if you look at it, I mean, it's great.
Look at the trophies, man. Look
yeah,
at the way
trophies,
the shorts, the jerseys are
MVPs.
You can see the tuck in, like when the jersey's tucked in. It's great.
And you can see he's doing, the line. I mean, it's Kawhi Leonard from the Spurs, Blake Griffin, Chris Anderson, LeBron James, Andrew Wiggins. I mean, NBA is giving him their line to do. I mean, even from the armpit hair to the little logos, the trophies has like the Tim Duncan MVP. I mean, it's detailed. It's really great.
It's a gorgeous figure. Show the front a little bit, Double. I don't think we showed the front of the figure really, but yeah, that's a Tim that comes with, I think, was it all 5 trophies?
Yeah.
And then
and then like I say, you can always tell. Which is,
and he did the football too, because there's Tom Brady. He's got some great ones with Tom Brady celebrating. After I have 2 of the Gronkowskis, one opened and one in the box still signed by Rob Gronkowski. I've got a Manu Ginobili McFarlane figure signed by Manu Ginobili.
But I mean, that's how great this guy became. Like,
he's the authority on toys.
He is. He became it. Like, I had a whole selection of Spawn toys. I had Spawn, Medieval Spawn, Angela. I had a Malboja. I mean, his toys were just so top notch. They were so much better than the fucking, the Marvel toys that you got from KB's. So little that you couldn't really do
Wolverine
too much with
like
it.
3 claws, like stuck together, curved. You know what? I don't know if Todd has had a good crack at Marvel toys. Anybody?
I think
people would really go nuts.
If he didn't, he certainly upped the game to where it became the points of articulation, where all of a sudden you can move the fingers. It was the wrists. It was the elbows. Everything was fucking like Spider-Man was bending. You can bend Spider-Man in any way. You remember when that first toy came out with Spider-Man? Can even you can pose it.
What you wanted to do was put your figures in the poses that they were on the comic books. You couldn't really do that before that because these characters were stiff.
McFarlane really changed that up
big time. But Double-A, so let's kind of go back a little bit here, right? Again, we're talking about Image Comics. We spent a good amount of time talking about Todd himself, right? They're pretty much the ringleader. Of this group of guys.
From the two docs that we saw, it always seems like Todd is the one who took the shit the most seriously. The one who said, "This is our company. We got to take care of it."
Yeah.
Like he always did seem like he was that guy.
And so here's a guy that was, again, like Double-A said earlier, was tired of like someone else owning the stuff that they drew and that they created. They're like, well, we have our own ideas. And his idea was like, look, we'll have this banner called Image Comics, but underneath that all, you can have your own studio and whatever you create is yours. So, I'm Image Comics is over all of us, but underneath it, I have Todd McFarlane. I think it's Productions or Studios.
Yeah.
And within that, one of his creations is Spawn. You have Rob Liefeld, right? Extreme Studios, right? And he creates the team Youngblood,
Brigade, Supreme. He's kind of the one that's probably the most prolific out of the 7. It seems like the other 6 kind of like had their one book, and that was it. Rob Liefeld was like kind of the guy who did a whole bunch.
Double-A, tell me this story though, because I don't think in either of the things we watch, and I know you would know this, but Chapel is a creation, a member of Youngblood, a Rob Liefeld creation. However, becomes a pivotal part of Spawn.
Yeah.
How does that happen? Do you know the story of how?
So Todd asked him if he can use him, and Rob was like, yeah.
So every time Todd uses Chapel in Spawn or in the cartoons or in comics,
I gotta imagine that
he gets a little.
It's Liefeld,
and it probably says at the beginning of the book, Chapel created by Rob Liefeld.
I'm sure he does. Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Which, I love Chapel. He's probably my second favorite creation of Liefeld, honestly.
Interesting.
It's Cable, and then it's Chapel.
Yeah, love Cable.
I love the Chapel character. That is one.
Collecting Weekly, great show, boys. Guys, I'm glad you're here. We were just talking about you. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Double A.
No.
Guys, I have questions, and I haven't been on the show in a long time, and I know when you guys get going, you guys are hardcore serious about what you're talking about. So sometimes I'm out of my depth, but we just have a quick question. If you guys are here sticking around, I don't know if this is you, Zach, or who's representing Collecting Weekly right now, but where do you guys stand on, like, McFarlane toys and them versus, like, I guess what maybe Marvel is doing with, like, Marvel Legends? I mean, I know that those are probably way down the line for you guys compared to, like, Hot Toys and the other amazing shit that's out there that you guys unbox. Incredible stuff. But, like, for your, I know you guys have, John, the everyday collector. I am an everyday collector myself. So just, like, I like stuff to, like, open and play with and just have set up, around. But we were just singing the praises, obviously, of Todd McFarlane, right, and the great work. Because at that time, right, Double A, we'd never seen toys that nice. We'd seen starting lineup shit.
And those Spawn toys were great.
Yeah, Toy Biz shit. When we saw the Spawn toys, we were like, oh my god, the chains. They're like metal chains. Well, I was like, we're of that era. You know what I mean? It's like when that shit first came out. So to us, it was like, wow, this is blowing us away.
Yeah, he upped it, like I said, compared to what Marvel and DC were coming out with. Yeah.
I'd love to hear what you guys think about that, Collecting Weekly, especially if whatever you guys might know or have to say regarding did McFarlane ever do any Marvel stuff or whatever, and would he ever?
They said, I think McFarlane Toys is probably one of the best companies in the game. When Hasbro is struggling to fill pegs, McFarlane is sending entire pallets to Walmart.
Damn, that means he's the man right there.
And they mentioned that, like Rob Liefeld mentions
that comment. Thank you, Collecting
He mentions that very heavily, that Todd McFarlane paid attention to the end caps and how many pegs he was getting. Whether it was like a 4x4 or something. Like, he was going to have a whole section just dedicated to McFarlane.
What do we say, Double A? We hate when we go to the store and I want Spawn, and there's no fucking Spawn. Yeah. I can go to the store right now and probably find a Spawn figure. It might be from Mortal Kombat 11, but it's going to look badass, and I'll have a Spawn to play with and be in my collection. I don't have that. You know what I mean? Like other figures, I'm like, I had a guy literally the other day, old coworker of mine, her husband, he says, man, does anybody know where to get Spider-Man toys? My kid really wants a Spider-Man. His kid must be like 7 or 8. There happened to be a show going on. Shout out to Alfred again, who was having a show this weekend over at Doc Brown, the toy show at
Rolling Oaks.
No, it was the other one at the bar, at Doc Brown's. I said, go to this place with your kid. You will find a Spider-Man toy. He wrote me afterwards. I said, man, thank you so much. He was in heaven, my kid.
Nice.
And I said, because exactly, my nephew's the same way. He's like, he sees Spider-Man No Way Home. He wants a Spider-Man toy. Guess what? I can't find fucking Spider-Man.
Which, real quick, they are having a Toy Fest at Rolling Oaks tomorrow.
Bingo. There you go right there, guys. Collecting Weekly, I'm sure some of you guys will be out there. Collecting Weekly also says, we got to get you boys on After Dark soon. I would absolutely love that. Double A would love that. Yeah, thank you for the invite, guys. That's the one I was on before. I was a little bit shell-shocked at the moment because it's a big team of you guys, and these guys know toys. You know what I mean? Like, they know toys. Seriously, dude. The absolute authority in the game is you guys at Collecting Weekly. But I'd love to get on there and ask you these layman questions, because these are shit that I want to know, where I'm like, what do you guys think about it? But shit, yeah, man. Glad you guys are here hanging out. And thank you for answering those questions. But yeah, Double A, getting back to...
have McFarlane ever done Marvel, guys? If you're still
if you're still there, let us know. Did he ever touch that?
I'm not too sure on Marvel. I know he's doing a shitload for DC. I don't know if he's done Marvel. And
I want to say, I don't know, and I could be wrong again. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if he touched Star Wars at all. Star Wars is the other property that, people want. Remember those Unleashed figures that came out? Yes. We were like big on those.
I had Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Do you still have those?
I don't think so.
I don't know, man. But they didn't move, though, I don't think.
They didn't move, but it was just a cool pose. And I loved it. I had it there sitting, just posed up. It was the Mustafar.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember those being gorgeous, and I remember too. This is the thing about McFarlane's toys is that it's almost like a statuesque looking figure that moves like a toy you can play with, and that's fucking the fun of it with it when it comes to a toy. But let's come back to I know we got sidetracked there, but we were talking about Chapel. We were talking about Todd getting to use Chapel. Great character. Your second favorite creation of Liefeld. Shit, I want to just get a couple of Spawn books now just to see. But have you heard any of the story about like how? Because it seemed like at one time they hit a rough patch. Those two.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So it was kind of like already when Liefeld was already kind of getting done with the Image. I don't know what the whole beef was. Maybe he just got tired of the whole structure. I don't know. He was late on his books. Most of them were, but they were getting like ridiculously late. Mm-hmm. And the publisher's like, "Come on, man, we gotta have them. They're sellers. We gotta kind of have them still."
Real quick, I don't mean to interrupt you. Collecting Weekly says, or if y'all ever want to have us come on your show, we would absolutely love for you guys to come here. Collecting Weekly, let's talk offline, but we would love that if you're able. Whoever is here, I know some of you guys are in California. It's a big group of you guys, but we'd love to. We can do.
Get California.
Nice. Some of the guys are in California. Get some virtual guys. Whoever is here. Again, if that's all good with AA to get you here in the studio, we'd love to have you come in and talk with you guys. These guys are some of the guys that also use StreamYard like us and have helped me through numerous walkthroughs where I tell you I continue to fail you guys as a host. But I'm trying. So, yeah, that is absolutely something that we would love to do with you guys. Let's just crisscross it over, you know what I'm saying, man? So, but back to what you were saying, the books were getting late.
The books were getting late, and then him and Silvestri kind of were having issues, which was breaking rule number 2. They were never supposed to impose on any of their other talents. They were supposed to stay in their studio. Whoever they hired, that was it.
Right.
Well, Michael Turner at this point had come into the picture. The late great Michael Turner.
Mario Delgado of Authority Comics, huge Michael Turner fan. I love Michael Turner.
And you would know his work right away. He's one of those artists that just had his own unique style that you could tell right off the bat that was a Turner cover. Mm-hmm. He's just getting started out, but he's doing top-notch work for Marc Silvestri. Just
gorgeous stuff,
fucking knocking it out.
Rest in peace.
Well, apparently Extreme Studios kept inquiring about Michael Turner. And
Rob, come on, Rob.
Yeah, Silvestri got kind of pissed, and he told the guys, "Look, I'm not really cool with this, and I'm kind of sick and tired of this whole bullshit. I'm going to be leaving Image." Well, you know what? They kind of had loved Silvestri more by this point than Rob Liefeld. So they said it was either going to be Silvestri or Liefeld. They all made a vote, voted Rob Liefeld out. He says he quit. It's kind of whatever you want to believe, and that was kind of the end of Liefeld's association with Image. It just, I don't know. I don't know if it got too business for him. I don't know what it was. And then the Heroes Reborn. That's what really pissed off Todd too. When him and Jim Lee got contracts.
So that's what, AA 96?
That's 96, I believe, when Heroes Reborn. Marvel was going through a bad time.
In 93, they were hurting, right?
Well, and this
that
is
was the bankruptcy time.
And now they're really hurting. They're hiring him and Jim Lee to revive Iron Man, Captain America, the Fantastic Four, and I forget who else. But it's pretty much the Avengers. I think it's the Avengers area.
It's like Avengers. What did you say?
Avengers, Cap, Iron Man,
and I think Fantastic Four.
Yeah, and Fantastic Four.
It was. I remember because I was excited. Those books looked beautiful. I was like, "Oh, damn, this art looks fucking badass."
That's the thing. That was the thing.
And there was controversy, right, with Cap. They changed the A to an eagle.
I'm fine. I was fine with that. The eagle, I think, is better than the A. Honestly, I think that's better.
But AA, you are AA.
Yeah.
See, if AA was wearing that hood, it'd be 2A.
Which they've gotten complete in the Marvel universe. They just got away with that completely. I don't even think
is he not even wearing.
I don't even know. I mean, a lot of times he's not even wearing the fucking helmet.
Yeah. So, in the movies, right?
Yeah.
Well, everyone wants to look at Chris Evans because he's such a stud, right? Yeah.
They're saying, Liefeld's gone on record saying, and it's records. They were selling 20,000-30,000 books. I mean, it was pitiful. Mm-hmm. They come back and they set it on fire again.
Yeah.
Well, Todd's like, hey guys, the.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Todd's kind of like, what are you guys doing? The whole reason we left fucking Marvel is to fuck Marvel. You know, now you guys are going back. They're waving,
Todd though.
Yeah, they're waving money, and you guys fucking jump at the bait. You know, he was kind of like, man, you know, that's our enemy. DC's our enemy. What are you guys doing?
Let's real quick welcome 1/6 Fix is in the house. He says the Oxfather brought me here. Oxfather, that is Zach, great guy. Often saving my ass here at Super. Well, welcome 1/6 Fix. We appreciate you, man. We'll hope that you'll check out a little bit some of our earlier talk where we were speaking specifically about action figures and our novice level love for what we can find on the rack at our local Target or whatever, but specifically regarding Todd McFarlane and his job as a businessman. So yeah, but
and if you guys if you're really interested, Rob Liefeld, again, he has a great podcast where it's just talks about Todd McFarlane and how he started McFarlane Toys. It's a great episode.
Observations,
yes,
man.
It's a really great episode. He goes really deep into how Todd started the company, to how he got it building, to where it is now, where it's pretty much like the #1 company of toys.
And a really wonderful guy that I got to meet. A human being I've met, a human being that you've met. And again, the main thing to me is I have my 8-year-old nephew with me. He was kind to him and nice to him and treated him with respect. And my sister noticed this as his mother, like standing off to the sides, who gives no two shits about comic books. And she was like, that guy was so nice and everything. And I said, great. Whatever else you've done in the world of comic books, that alone that's
his stuff. Whatever beef he has, that's what they're creators.
Yeah.
He loves his fans.
We like Deadpool. Yeah. We love Cable. Chapel. You know what I mean? So that's there. Quick though, back up. Todd, in some of the stuff we've seen, it's easy to kind of like paint Rob as the bad guy because he was like this guy spending money, trying to poach people's artists.
Well, see, that's the thing though. He was giving these guys kind of like ridiculous amounts of money per page.
He was doing Bischoff, Ted Turner type shit.
Almost. I mean, but he was saying, he was like, look, I was in my 20s. I really didn't have a family.
Right.
I'm fucking banking.
Sure.
I want to give these, he goes, I want to give these guys the pay rate. You know, I want to give them something that I wasn't given. Which is great.
Probably you're also awesome. He's kind of said they would all hang out together.
Yeah,
they'd be there at
it was just
studios.
like a big fucking clubhouse. He goes, he loved the Marvel bullpen, how it was. He wanted that. He even said he based his bullpen on the Marvel, how Marvel had it in New York.
So one of the things they don't talk about AA is like, again, it is easy to kind of see Todd as like the leader of this he riles these guys up and like, let's take off and fuck them, fuck Marvel, whatever, right? And like, again, they go initially because they're like, great idea, we want to own our own stuff, we want to own. I mean, it sounds great, right? Yeah, and they're hoping the fans are going to follow them.
And that's like rule number 1: whatever you create is yours.
But what I think is, and again, we've talked about this before, like when we've talked about Elvira, we've talked about Paul Rubens owning Pee Wee Herman. You know what I mean? Like, so of course the idea is great because here you are. You're pretty much making Cable, making Deadpool. Yeah. But damn, when I leave, I'm not going to write Cable and Deadpool forever. It's like someone else is going to eventually come along, and it's like, it's not mine, even though you might have put your heart and soul into it, Shit, that happened to probably Stan. That happened to Jack.
Stan and Jack,
that happened to them.
Look at X-Men. They created X-Men, but Chris Claremont is pretty much the one who's considered the X-Men guy.
How does the documentary start? The Image Revolution. 2 guys from Jersey created Superman or whatever. It's like the biggest... fucking jip, you know what I mean? Where it's like, man, like, I mean...
But, we've had talks about this too. It's kind of like, it's either that or it doesn't get out.
It doesn't get out, right.
And so it's kind of like, well, fuck
you love music. Same thing, right? Yes. You need someone to produce it. You need someone to distribute it.
You're going to have the shitty-ass contract. It's kind of what's going on, I guess, if it's real, with MJF and AEW.
Right.
He says he deserves more money than the WWE guys. But it was kind of like without AEW, no one would have ever heard of MJF.
I've heard him on the mic and I really enjoy it, but I haven't really seen his in-ring ability.
No, but you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Without AEW platform, he wouldn't even know who fucking MJF is.
Exactly.
Okay, unless you're a fucking deep fan. So it's kind of like, okay, you signed this contract when you're a nobody, but now you're becoming somebody because of this platform.
Do you
it's
think,
kind of, it's that fucking,
do you think AA that at this point, where we are in the world, we're more educated, we're more knowledgeable, we have more social media access. Why are we still signing bad contracts?
Because it's kind of like it's like even
I want to get known.
I want to get known. It's kind of like even I forgot how much it was that they were paying Siegel and Schuster, but it was like I want to say it was like $100, which in 1930 something
Right.
Godly. Okay.
But fuck, if Siegel and Schuster got taken advantage of, it's kind of understandable because they're like, they didn't know. But by now, Double A, we've had 100 years.
And that's the thing. But again, it's kind of like, well, shit, if I don't sign this contract, the CD doesn't get made. If I don't sign this contract, I don't get seen on TV. It's kind of that fucking, you're kind of like, well, I mean, it's a gamble on both ways. It's kind of like, it's a shit contract, but I could get known. Yeah. And the record studio is like, well, I don't know you. Right. We could be losing money on you.
Right.
So it sucks.
I don't know.
It really just sucks.
I don't know if Chris Rizzo is still here with us. Rizzo from Invincible Comics and More. I hope you are, Rizzo. I would love to hear you chime in on what you think about. You support so many creator-owned comic books right now. These guys are doing basically like the GoFundMe version of creating a book. Like, we're not getting any help. I need you to kick in $10 so I can get distribution and all that. I think that's awesome. Then that's fucking great. They're not selling off their character or their property or their intellectual, property, creative rights to anyone. They're trying to do it on their own. This is like when people, the rappers start doing the mixtapes, they're like, I'm going to make my own shit. Or when people put their stuff on SoundCloud to distribute it, it's a great idea. But damn, it sucks for me to hear that MJF did not negotiate a better contract for himself, but or get like, someone too on your behalf.
It was like a contract that was signed for like about 2 or 3 years, some shit like that. But I mean, again, I had never heard of MJF before.
I agree.
AEW.
If it was not for AEW, I'd have no idea who he was. Now we're on wrestling. We're way off comic books.
No, but it's kind of
relevant
with the royalties, and Liefeld says that too. When Jim Shooter initiated the royalties in the 80s. Which is great on Jim Shooter. Because, man, if that royalty system had been based on the 60s, Jack Kirby could have been well retired, happy, with all that money. Liefeld says, it's a gamble, too. You can sign him, and Deadpool could have been nothing. Yeah, he could have just been a character that was just there.
Well, right.
But it's just that he became so popular.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, he gets royalties, and he gets some. It's not what Marvel's getting, but it's something. He goes,
sure.
He goes, shit. Deadpool has made me rich. He goes, Deadpool and Cable had made me rich just on the royalties alone.
Well, because you got to think about it, right? Double A. At any moment, if I'm Marvel, I could say, "Oh, you own the rights to Deadpool. Guess what? Next issue, Wolverine comes in, slices Deadpool's head off. That's it. Deadpool's done.
That's what I'm
saying. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Take your ball and go home.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's a difficult business to be in that situation or whatever, unless you own your own shit, right? You know what I mean? So let's go back to, I know we're kind of all over the place with the story.
But it's the whole thing with Image, though. That was the whole thing. It was rule number 1: you create, you own, and number 2, you do not impose on the other studios.
Okay, and I got back. I'm glad you said it. You got back to my point. Do you feel like, because they don't really say this in the things again, they kind of a little bit. I felt like in the documentary watch. Excuse me, the Image Revolution, again, available for free on YouTube.
Yeah, go to YouTube.
And just check it out, because it's fun. It's an hour 30.
It's an hour and 21 minutes, but it doesn't even seem like, if you're really into like the whole and everything, it blows by quick.
It's a good free watch. Yeah. I loved it. But
Jim Lee's in there. Like all the 7 are in there. Kirkman's in
Todd
there.
McFarlane.
Yeah.
We'll definitely get to that guy. But did you feel like they kind of in the beginning they paint Todd kind of as this revolutionary, right? He's Paul, not Paul.
He's
Revere,
the one that's like, let's go.
Again, he riles up these younger guys, except for Valentino, who's older.
Yeah.
But I think he thinks it's a good idea. He's like, oh, this is a good idea. They do this. They up and jump ship. They leave Marvel, right? They're like, screw it, we're taking off, we're doing our own thing. They create these characters, whatever. A lot of them, not that great.
No. And that's the thing. Like, I don't know how much money Jim Lee actually makes off Wildcats compared to X-Men. Todd is probably the only one that probably banks on Spawn. Youngblood, I really don't see shit from Youngblood. Savage Dragon, maybe. Darkness, Witchblade, maybe.
Definitely not Cyberforce.
I would say really the only one that has made a huge mark would be Robert Kirkman from the Image guys. That probably you can say is probably like, yeah, okay, the money must be rolling in for him.
Like they say it at the end of that diagram, they said spawned a media empire. And I had to think about that. I was like, media empire. I was like, that means movies, toys, video games,
shows.
It's everything. And again, Kirkman it's Image, but then it's Skybound, which is Robert Kirkman,
his studio,
and then it's Invincible It's
And
Walking Dead.
just those two.
I mean, the guy is crushing it. But here's a guy that loved Image. You know,
yeah, he grew up in that time. So
right.
these guys were his fucking Stan Lee,
Yes.
Jack Kirby.
Yes.
You know, these guys were like, whoa, you know, these are the badasses.
I loved it when they interviewed him in the documentary, and he said, I wanted to be Eric Larsen when I grew up.
Which
He
was
like,
great, right?
And I was like,
Which
wow,
was
what
great,
a cool pull. Right? Yeah. That's like when you're I remember like your brother telling me he was like a big Elgin Baylor fan. And I was like, Elgin Baylor? I don't really know that guy. And then it was like when you look into it,
When
you're
you
like,
look
oh
at
wow,
stats,
that guy is a really great guy.
Yes.
It's like when you know your friends that likes like a deep cut song off an album. You're like, okay, deep cut.
Yeah.
Although Eric Larsen is a big name in the world of artists, right now you and I could probably name 10 that we like before him. You know what I mean? Which we just looked at his work and it's beautiful. I mean, the guy's, I would love to meet him. If he came to a show, we'd go and we'd meet him
for
and
sure.
we'd get shit signed. So
sure.
that's no doubt. Yeah, so to hear Robert Kirkman say, I was like, wow, what a cool thing. He wanted to be, I think, a comic book guy. He wanted to create something, and he wanted it to, I mean, not even necessarily be his. I'm sure that if they would have told Robert Kirkman, we'll distribute The Walking Dead, but it's going to be Images, he would have just said yes.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like he loved Image so much.
He loved Image.
Yeah.
He loved the whole tone of it. He loved the vibe of it. He loved what they did.
He loved what they did, the move they made, the boldness of 7 guys that were working for the man and said, fuck the man, we're going to become the man ourselves. And that did work for a while, because this is like the years of between, like, the documentary covers like 91 to 99.
They started off strong. Right off the bat, after that first year, they were the number 2 publisher. They had took
DC's
over
ass.
DC. Yeah.
Remember when they talk about the books? The only book that was like giving them any, they had like the top 9 books, I think, except Robin, which was kind of funny. I was like, wow, y'all kicked DC's ass, but the one guy hanging on in there was Robin. I was like, yo, shit, that's my dude. Like, fucking love, shout out to Robin, man. Robin is a real badass, depending on which. Well, you know what? They were all kind of badass.
But we love Dick Grayson.
We love Dick Grayson,
Nightwing
specifically.
We always say is badass.
Yeah, I think that one might have been the Tim Drake. It might have been the Tim. I don't know which Robin it was that they were representing, but
hey,
either way,
Jason, what's up, Jason?
It was Robin and they're hanging out. What's up, Jason? We appreciate you being here, bro. I know you asked us last week.
For you, Jason.
You're up late, man. We missed you last week. I told you we were gonna do one over the long weekend, but then things got out of hand and we didn't get to do that. But either way, yeah, man, that was an interesting part of the video. I thought where I was like, man, we had the top 9 books, and and it shows that the only one that wasn't theirs was, and it was like a Robin book, and I was like, whoa, how interesting that it was. Not only DC, but it was Robin or whatever. I mean, like, that means they were kicking the fucking X-Men's ass. Wolverine, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because at that point, Claremont's gone. Long gone. I saw his documentary. Apparently, him and Jim Lee, they weren't meshing very well towards the end. Jim Lee wanted to do a lot of stuff Chris Claremont didn't want to do, but Marvel was so behind Jim Lee that they're kind of giving Jim Lee more, which is kind of insane to think about it. Like, really, you're giving Jim Lee more creative control than Chris Claremont?
Well, it's a visual medium, right?
I know, but it's like, this is the guy who kept X-Men like your powerhouse throughout multiple artists. And now you're giving this one guy like more control, so they said Claremont.
Well, what does that say about comic books, right? It's a visual medium.
But you know what? So they let Claremont go.
Yeah.
And then Jim Lee only stays on for a few more issues. It kind of sucks, right? It's kind of like, oh shit, you know.
Who takes over?
That's the thing. It's kind of like it goes like down for a little while.
Yeah.
It picks up with Age of Apocalypse, but that's not until like 96.
Yeah.
You know, so
that's a while. That's a ways off.
So X-Men, yeah, I'm not surprised that it was beating X-Men, because I'm sure X-Men was down at that point. Without Claremont, without Jim Lee, golly.
You have a lot of shit fucking going on to make it ripe for Image to be taking over. And again, me and Double A have read some of these books, and we said the same thing. We're like, the writing's not strong.
Like I said, Spawn, I think is the best. Yeah. But that appeals to me.
Good story.
That appeals to me. Maybe what it did to me is probably how you felt with Preacher. But obviously Garth Ennis is on a whole nother level than Todd McFarlane. Right. Obviously.
But that was probably my first like Vertigo book. I would never,
no, but you know what? It's like, Preacher, God.
Yeah. Yes.
It has all that shit.
Yes.
Demons, for me it was Spawn.
Yeah.
But Garth Ennis took it to a level where if he was writing on Spawn, man, it probably him with Todd McFarlane, golly, it probably would have crushed it.
You just put a tasty morsel out there, Double A in the universe. Todd, can you call Garth Ennis and collab on a couple of
especially without being a fucking,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, military
I didn't think
dude.
about that.
Yeah.
That's something that needs to happen, I think, comic book world. Let's make that happen. Garth Ennis on the writing duties and Todd McFarlane on the art on a Spawn book. Because I actually said he hasn't been doing the drawing in a while, just
No,
covers.
yeah, it's just the covers. He's kind of left pretty early on. He stayed on for maybe the
He's
first.
been consistent with getting great guys. Remember when Greg Capullo was drawing for a long time?
Yeah,
Oh,
Neil Gaiman was writing for a while.
yeah, but Capullo drawing Spawn was just gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. And I know he did a bunch of stuff. Obviously, it's Todd that did the Bozeman, Chadwick Boseman tribute, right?
Yes, it was him.
Yeah, and of course, Spawn 300 had like a shit ton of covers.
Oh man,
so,
yeah.
All great stuff. But yeah, so pretty much these young 7 guys have this idea to leave the boss, create their own thing, and they're doing their thing, and they're doing really well at first. Then obviously, like we said, they run into the hassles. Like they were, like somebody says it in the video. I think it might be Valentino. He's like, they were great. They're great at their job of being artists and making comics. But they really weren't great businessmen. You know what I mean? Like they didn't know how to do that. You know what I mean? Like which anybody would be. You know what I mean? Like if
because I think that's where Valentino just stops what he's doing, and he kind of tries to take the presidency of kind of trying to manage all that kind of shit, because he said they said Liefeld was the one who had everybody installed, but Larsen says it was like people from like his church and people like he knew, like I think his sister was like his business manager, so it's kind of like Rob Liefeld people.
He did what a young person would do. You'd give your friends jobs, you'd give your brother a job, you know what I mean, and then but you don't realize like you're paying these people salaries or whatever, and then you're like, well, what's fair,
And then he said Jim Lee too was always kind of like a businessman himself too, so he was kind of like.
They say he was very on the business side, that like he kind of leaned that way or whatever, and obviously the man now runs DC, so it's like. The comic book side anyway, so I mean rightfully so. I mean there's another guy, we both had the pleasure of meeting you twice, right?
What?
Jim Lee? Just at the pop-up.
Just one time
together. Okay.
Yeah.
Who'd you meet twice? You went to a big signing. Liefeld, you met Liefeld.
Frank Miller
you met twice. That's what it was. Yeah, not an image guy. But
no, but he did do this crossover. Frank Miller,
right there.
Todd McFarlane,
and on the back there's both their pictures. I love that image logo with Spawn in it right there.
Yep.
Yeah. How does that work in that one? AA. Who's doing the writing? Who's doing the drawing? The art.
Frank writing. Todd
art. That must have been fun for him. Yeah. I bet they got along like gangbusters.
Yeah, because Frank Miller to these guys is like one of their idols.
Yeah.
I mean, he's great. They all love Frank Miller.
Yeah.
Jim Lee has worked with him. Todd has worked with him. I think.
How's that story?
It's good.
Solid.
It's cool.
Really good. Batman and Spawn.
Yeah.
2 guys doing different stuff. Jason just asked what's going on the weekend. AA just mentioned it. Toy show, right?
There's a toy show on Rolling Oaks Mall tomorrow. If you're into that, Jason. There's probably going to be other vendors, obviously.
Oh yeah, there's always guys out there with comics and other stuff. So it's like you can get more than just your toy fix. But yeah, awesome stuff, man.
But yeah, I mean, and then and I think Garth Ennis was even doing some of the darkness with Silvestri.
Is that right?
I believe so.
I think that does sound familiar.
Yeah. So I mean, like Silvestri stuff is really cool. The darkness, like that character looks cool. Witchblade obviously was like very hot for a long
was like the
fucking
hottest
time.
shit for
I remember
a while.
her drawing was just everywhere. Like everywhere in comics.
And then, Silvestri, obviously known for Top Cow. Top Cow was his company under the
Which that was like probably the one I saw the most.
It really was, yeah. And it was unique, right? With the cow udders on there. Because he was doing, I think that, I don't know how he did it, and I don't know if this was something that Michael Turner did, but it was like, for a while, there was Aspen Comics.
Yeah, there's Aspen, and then I got that Fathom.
Yeah, the Fathom, yeah.
And you can see the Top Cow.
Oh, so it's top
logo
and is image there too, right?
It's kind of like the period part.
Oh, I see.
Image.
I see.
Yeah.
So it was Fathom produced by
and that's
Image
Turner.
Produced by Top Cow, but then he gets his own. I guess Turner gets his own, which is Aspen Comics. Because
that's right. That's right. Yes.
Their whole thing was to be like creator owned. Mm-hmm. Like you get to own your stuff. We're not going to keep your stuff from you, whatever. And there's that great quote at the end of the documentary, right? AA, where Todd says like, there will always be Image will always exist as long as one comic book has the Image eye on it.
Yeah.
And he goes, and I will never take that off Spawn. And as long as I'm around, Spawn will be around. So it's like, there you go. Like he's never gonna let Marvel buy Spawn. He's never gonna let DC buy Spawn. Now, AA, let's talk about this because they don't talk about this, but you probably know. I know you know. How does Angela, Todd McFarlane creation, end up at Marvel?
So that's the thing with McFarlane though. So many fucking lawsuits, where he loses a lot. Tony Twist was apparently a hockey player, and he liked the name, and he used it.
Good name.
Apparently, the hockey player found out, didn't like it, sued him. So I think Tony Twist was gone. Neil Gaiman, I guess he wasn't paying Neil Gaiman the royalties. Neil Gaiman created Cagliostro, created Angela, created Medieval Spawn.
Really?
He loses that battle. So Neil Gaiman, what does he do? He takes Angela, and gives it to Marvel. Here you go. You can do whatever you want with her.
Wow.
And she's a Marvel character now. So Angela is no longer in the Image universe. She is a Marvel universe character.
That's gotta hurt.
And she's a
him.
Norse. She's a long lost daughter of Odin now.
No shit.
Yeah. So it's just a lot of the lawsuits. He's lost a lot of lawsuits.
Medieval Spawn? I thought Medieval Spawn was
Issue
supposed to
9,
be like an ancient Spawn.
Issue 9 was Neil Gaiman written, and those are his characters. So he either kills off the characters that Gaiman created, or he just lets them go. And because I think Cagliostro, he killed him off. Obviously killed off Medieval Spawn, and then Angela was just, I don't know what happened to her. I think she dies in issue 100.
Yeah.
So
which, see, again, he kind of blurred his own lines with like, you're a creator owned, but
then
you're using.
And then him and Neil Gaiman kind of were getting into it with the Miracle Man stuff. He thought he had owned Miracle Man because he brought all the Eclipse stuff. Apparently, he never owned Miracle Man. The owner still, the guy who created Miracle Man was still the rights,
and he sold it to Marvel.
So I was like, and he did a really badass. I still want it. He did a real badass Miracle Man figure, and it looks so fucking great. Yeah, he's like this, and it looks so fucking cool. He's got the MM. I'm like, oh,
166 or Collecting Weekly, you guys still out there? Where's the line on the Todd McFarlane Miracle Man figure?
That toy goes to like $60 to $80 on eBay. I'm like, golly, it's so beautiful.
I just want to give you a heads up. There's a new DC Todd McFarlane Multiverse Black Adam coming out, and it looks like the statue you have. It looks like that, but you can pose it and move it. And I was like looking at it like, that bitch looks real nice. I was like, that's a nice looking fucking figure right there, man.
Yeah, so that kind of sucks. So it's kind of like 3 main characters that were really cool to the Spawn universe, and it's kind of like,
What a kind of, and again, what a kind of a story for Todd, where it just kind of feels like Marvel is this thorn in his side. You know what I mean? And it's probably not even meant to be. It's not them, but it's just like the lines get blurred again with that creator-owned shit. It's kind of just like you hope that things can come together for the greater good, But Double A, we hinted on it earlier, right? So obviously in 91 they do this bold move. By 93 Marvel's hurting. By 96 Image is hurting.
And
they
not
can't
just that,
get
but even like Liefeld kind of says that too. That I think because of how extreme they were and how popular they were, he's got a theory going around saying that that's why they killed Superman and that's why they broke Batman's back, was to kind of compete and regain that number 2 footing
and put some edge on their books
and put some edge,
and then some edge out there in the comic
I was kind of like,
world.
that's pretty. I'm going with that theory because I'm sure DC slipping to number 3 was a fucking huge embarrassment.
Oh, I'm sure. To these upstarts, right?
We got
stories that aren't that great.
But it's like just based on who they are, and people don't care about Superman. People don't care about fucking Batman, Justice League.
Do you think that did Marvel do anything extreme at that time? Were there any?
No, see, that's the thing. Marvel, they just kept trucking.
Yeah. Even though I remember it was big news that they were facing bankruptcy.
Yeah, they were, but the books themselves, though, I don't think were hurting. They were still number 1 at this point. They had the cartoon, the X-Men cartoon, which borrowed very heavily from the Jim Lee stuff. I mean, they were still rocking. It seemed like they were still rocking,
especially like the look, right? The way that they look.
That was all Jim Lee's.
That yellow Wolverine outfit is like with Jim Lee.
The whole look was Jim Lee look.
Yeah. And Jim Lee, a thing that you kind of get about him is that is a thing that I like about artists and writers is that I think that Jim Lee really loves the characters. He loves Batman. He loves the X-Men. Like, he loves... Those are characters. He's like, well, yeah, I like writing my own stuff, but I really love playing in these sandboxes of these characters, When he does Batman and Superman in that run most fairly recently, right, Double A? I mean, it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, the love is in the art. Like, when someone cooks food and you can taste the love in it.
It's like great, yeah.
When you see Jim Lee drawing that shit, you're like, That's
and I remember what a
fucking
big deal it
fantastic.
was when he came back with Hush.
It's gorgeous.
It was a huge deal. It was like Jim Lee, the fucking probably top selling artist of all time, coming back and doing Batman.
It's a shame that Frank Miller didn't write a better story for the work they did together. Because the story's not that great, but the art is gorgeous, and you're like, damn, it's Frank Miller and Jim Lee. It's not that good of a story, but you're like, damn, boy, is it good to look at. And you are reading Frank Miller's words, but you're like,
it's kind of, they said kind of the same thing with Superman. It was Brian Azzarello, who I love. I love Brian Azzarello, but everyone said that storyline was kind of flat.
What? That doesn't fit him, though.
No?
I wouldn't get Brian Azzarello to write Superman.
Okay.
Brian Azzarello writing Luthor makes sense. Brian Azzarello writing
Superman,
Joker makes sense. Okay. But writing Superman, you need someone else.
Okay.
Like maybe Bendis. I could see Bendis.
I think it was supposed to be Loeb, but I think Jeff
definitely
Loeb,
see Jeff Loeb
because
writing
Jeff Loeb
Superman.
did Batman. He's the one that wrote Hush. I think something happened where Loeb couldn't do it.
Yeah. You know who I'd get? Straczynski. Straczynski, I think could definitely write. I mean, he did write great Superman. I mean, Superman's tough to write. Superman is not everybody can write. So, would you get Frank Miller to write Superman?
Sure, I would give him a crack at it.
No, I wouldn't. He'd fuck it up. He'd probably have him burn the American flag or something like that. Whatever. I'm like, I wouldn't let Frank Miller. I'm like, I don't need you here, Frank Miller.
Mark Waid.
Be over here.
I would get Mark Waid.
I would love for Mark Waid to write Superman.
I don't know why Jim Lee has never.
I love Garth Ennis. I wouldn't let Garth Ennis write Superman. I'm like, you stay away. Don't touch it.
You like the Spawn, though.
I would love to see him do Spawn. You're absolutely right. Damn, Double A, that you hit the fucking nail on the head with that one. It's like Kirkman, right? What would you like Kirkman write? Would you like? You see?
But I'm not a big fan of Kirkman. Even on Walking Dead, I'm not a big fan of I'm sorry. I'm not. I've read those issues of Walking Dead, and I'm not a big fan of his writing.
Yeah. Character creating is one thing, but character, story and plot development is different.
Obviously, that was a popular book, and people loved it. I didn't care for it. I love the show more than I do the book. Even some of the the Negan origin story, I was like, golly, this kind of sucks. I like the show. I like the episode better than the book he wrote.
Sometimes those people just need a little bit of foundation. They can build on that. But let's talk about him. Good segue, Double A. So
it was kind of like so the 7 had kind of come. Rob Liefeld had come and gone. McFarlane
I like how you call him the 7.
Rob Liefeld Todd McFarlane had already kind of stopped. He was more focusing on McFarlane toys. Silvestri was kind of letting Turner and all these other guys kind of do the work. Valentino was doing more of the administrative stuff. Larsen was just Savage Dragon. That's all Eric Larsen said he ever wants to do. Yeah, it was just always Savage Dragon.
He stayed focused.
That's all I want to do. I just want to write and draw Savage Dragon. Who's left? Jim Lee was by that point sold to DC. He was gone.
Yeah, he sold WildC.A.T.
He sold Wildstorm. Wildstorm and everything.
That was his
under. And that was like a big blow to Image. With Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld gone, they were hurting.
Yeah.
They had produced almost the bulk of Image's sales. Mm-hmm. And, Rob Liefeld had 20 titles. Jim Lee had fucking 10 or something. That was a lot compared to Todd was just doing Spawn. Larsen was just doing Savage Dragon. Silvestri was just had maybe the 2-3 books, and that was about it. I mean, they weren't doing they weren't pumping out a lot.
Right.
So it was just kind of hurting for a while from the late 90s. It was kind of oh boy, Robert Kirkman comes in, huge fan. We just said he was a huge fan of Image, loved all of them. He comes in with I think Invincible is first.
Yeah. They didn't talk about it in the doc, but we know that later on.
But that became hot. That was hot. And then Walking Dead. Whoo boy. It's funny because Valentino almost kind of passes it up.
I was going to say tell that story because I love that story.
So he's like, I want to do a zombie book. And Valentino's like, Robert, golly, zombie books really don't they don't sell.
They've never sold.
They've never sold.
Zombies suck.
It's a niche. It's a niche genre. And he's like, throw me an angle. What's going to be different about your zombie book than any other zombie book? And he goes, okay, so I came back. And he goes, well, it's an alien invasion. and this is a way to get rid of the Earthlings, is giving them a disease, a zombie virus, blah, blah, blah. he gives him like a whole good speech, and he's like, I'm gonna throw it in tidbits in like the first few issues where
like
people
Easter
are gonna pick
eggs,
it. Yeah,
right?
Easter eggs. And Valentino's like, okay, go ahead and do it.
He's like that. Well, that sounds cool, right? Like, I was kind of with him. I was like, oh yeah, that would have still been pretty neat, you know? All right.
And he says that, I forgot Robert Kirkman's partner. He's like, hey, Robert, man, these are really good, but I don't see any of that alien invasion. He goes, yeah, because there's none. He told me to throw him an angle, and I did.
Yeah.
But I was like, that's not going to happen in these books. Walking Dead, pretty much Liefeld says, Walking Dead and Invincible saves Image.
Yeah.
They were the books. At first, Robert Kirkman says Walking Dead really didn't start out very strong.
Mm.
They actually lost, I think, a few on the third issue, but then all of a sudden, it was like the issue started picking up,
right?
More and more,
there were
more
orders, more
the
sales,
orders, more sales, and
it.
it was like, holy shit! At one point, I think it eclipsed Spawn, which was crazy. I was like, wow, really? Like a new book, eclipsing this, like already established book.
Sure.
I mean, man, Walking Dead becomes this big old medium empire. 2009, 2010, I forgot when it comes out.
Yeah.
It becomes a show. Huge fucking show.
I mean, even then, that probably picked up the book sales.
It did.
Right?
It did.
Like,
I mean, golly, for about 5 years, it was rivaling, shows on NBC, ABC, CBS. I mean, it was getting that big of a rating where everybody was talking about it after work. I mean, at work on Mondays.
yeah.
Did you see The Walking Dead? You see what happened? It was kind of like it was that show. It was like, holy fucking shit.
We got drawn in, right?
We did.
We're two of the biggest Walking Dead fans. Even now, after the height has declined, we're still in there.
Lunchboxes, pens, pencils, DVDs, just
Halloween costumes. I mean, just everything.
This man has been Negan and Rick.
That is true. And I made my girlfriend be Michonne.
Yeah, I mean, golly, he became this huge fucking global phenomenon.
Yeah.
Comic-Cons, the actors that would come to the Comic-Cons have long lines.
What do we talk about? I think my very first con I ever went to was in Austin for Wizard World. Norman Reedus is there. It's only Walking Dead like season 2. I love him from the Boondock Saints. I don't even think I'm watching The Walking Dead yet. I'm like, I'll get him later. Go to do my other stuff, whatever. I start watching The Walking Dead. Walking Dead season 3 comes out, and it's just like fucking downhill from there. Every time we see this guy, the prices go up. The lines are longer. I'm like, fuck, I can't believe I missed my chance to meet Norman
My wife
Reedus.
got to meet him, and she was so fucking happy when she met him. I mean, he was like, he held my hand. Yeah,
we did eventually meet him, right? Double A, photo op. You and I, for the longest time, our photo for the podcast was me, Double A, and Norman Reedus. But man, we really got to say thank you to Robert Kirkman. Thank you to Image Comics.
Yeah, it was like they took a chance on this zombie book that Marvel and DC would never have done. Honestly, I mean, Image didn't even want to do it at first.
Right.
Hey man, this guy just comes in, guns blazing, and fucking takes Image up to now where they have a real presence.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel has the Avengers, DC has Superman, Batman, now Image has Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
And if you look at it's second. If it's second is Spawn, it's not that bad. Spawn is really okay.
And at that time,
Spawn's had a major movie.
In the
Spawn's
90s,
had a major show.
It had the cartoon that won Emmys.
Mm-hmm.
It had a movie before Marvel movies had movies. I mean, man, Spawn was killing it at one point.
The cast, you've got Martin Sheen, you've got Michael Jai White, you've got John Leguizamo, who is amazing as Clown.
And he is. That was great.
I still like that movie a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, man, it was huge. Spawn was huge for like about 3-4 years.
Mm-hmm.
It was huge.
Double A's. Let's also talk about too how Kirkman loved Image so much that he didn't want, he didn't want the Image kind of family to be a broken family. He wanted to be like, let's get certain things happening. I think he had heard that Rob Liefeld was going to go produce Youngblood. And he was like, it's not right. And I love how Liefeld puts it in the documentary. He says he wanted mom and dad to talk again, which is like Todd and him, right?
So at this point, Kirkman had done so much already for Image that they decided to make him a partner, which was rare. They hadn't made anyone else.
That's
a
like
partner.
lawyer shit, yo.
Yeah.
That's like when you're such a good lawyer, they're like,
Kirkman
be a
was
part
like,
of the firm.
Which Kirkman was like, it was so fucking cool when they decided to make him a partner. He was like, wow.
That's
I'm
what I
a
love
partner.
about him. I love
Yeah.
his, I know we don't like to use the word nerd and geek or whatever, but it's like, I love that
No,
part
it's
of it.
cool.
He's
It's like if we got into Marvel, right? And we became like a fucking president of Marvel.
if they let me mop
we're
the
like,
fucking
wow.
floors, I'd be like, I'm happy. This
Right?
is amazing. Like, what the fuck, Like, I'm here,
Right?
Like, that's...
So for him
I
to
love
actually...
that. I love that for him. I love that
to
for
actually
him.
be a partner of Image, I was like, golly.
Yeah. Tell him Double A about how Kirkman continued to kick ass there.
Yeah, so, I mean... Well, first off, I'm going to kind of go back. Whether you know it or not, Image has always had a presence on TV. Savage Dragon was on USA Network for about 2 seasons. It had that 90s animated look. Witchblade had a show on TNT for about maybe a season or 2. Spawn had the cartoon. WildC.A.T.S had a season, a 13 episode season on, I forgot what channel it was. Walking Dead obviously had, been on AMC for about 12 years. Invincible is on Amazon Prime now. You can watch that. You can stream the first season. So Image has had a big presence on TV for about 20 plus years, whether you even knew it or not. They probably had more. They probably were on TV more so than Marvel was at one point. So whether you know it or not, Image has been with us. They've had a presence on pop culture for a long time. They have some pretty top-notch actors that are voicing Invincible. The Witchblade show was somewhat like a cult favorite on TNT. I know people still kind of talk about it every now and then. Savage Dragon, it's on Hulu. You can actually stream it. I actually did see like the first episode. Like I said, it has that 90s animation, Tick, like the Tick, Spider-Man, kind of like that, kind of like animation, and it's on Hulu. You can watch it. Spawn is on HBO Max, 3 seasons worth. The voice acting is great on Spawn. The animation is great. The action is really good. The dialogue is really good. So I mean, they've had a presence probably more so than anyone really would ever think about. Like I said, The Walking Dead is just a media giant. They have Fear the Walking Dead, The Walking Dead. They've had like 2 limited series. They're supposed to have movies out. I was talking about the presence on TV that Image has had. From Savage Dragon being on USA Network.
That's right.
That's streaming on Hulu. To Witchblade.
Witchblade on
that had TNT.
Yeah.
To the Spawn on HBO.
Spawn on
to
HBO.
Invincible. To Walking Dead. It's been a presence on TV for 20 plus years, whether you even know it or not. From Image, Kick-Ass, they took over. Marvel.
I didn't know that they had taken over.
They had taken over from Marvel. So Kick-Ass is kind of in their collection too. Jupiter's Legacy, I think, is an Image.
I had no idea about the Image and Kick-Ass thing. What's cool you can say about it too, like I have a buddy at work, my buddy John. He had told me the other day he had finished watching Peacemaker, and what he picked up next was Spawn. And he was like, I'm watching that on HBO Max. And I said, what made you watch it? He's like, I just thought it looked cool, like a cool character. And I was like, wow, it's so funny how even now that
visuals
fits in so perfectly with like how ahead of its time was that show, Double A Spawn.
And it was, man, like I said, I'm going back on it, and I was just saying, the animation still looks good. The dialogue is very good. The voice acting is really well. The way Jason Wynn, he does Jason Wynn, the way the way Keith David does Spawn.
Yeah.
I mean, man, if you go
Who
back...
does Jason Wynn?
I don't know who does Jason Wynn, but whoever does it just has a great tone in his voice that makes you scared.
Yeah.
You know,
I love Sam and Twitch.
Sam and Twitch.
They're great. Like,
that's a great, I mean, it's just like when you look back on those episodes, the Billy Kincaid stuff, when Wanda is talking to that supposed serial killer, which is not, you know, that's a great back and forth.
Yeah.
Terry. The one who does Terry Fitzgerald.
How many years have me and your brother been like, sorry, Al?
And I just saw that episode and I started laughing. And I was like, golly.
Because we were like, man, that part, like, you're fucking feeling Chapel in that moment. You're like, whew.
And Chapel is so great, too, man.
Yeah.
Chapel, the character, how they do it, you know, the voice, it's like, golly. That's just a really great fucking cartoon. Like, seriously, that's...
Highly recommend. You guys should watch the Spawn. If you like any of the Peacemaker, the Boys, any of that shit we're watching now, Spawn, the cartoon on HBO Max really was...
And watch Todd. Runner. Watch the introduction with Todd.
Great stuff.
I kind of kicked the Kirkman until you came back.
Yeah.
But I was just saying all the presence of image that you see that's been around probably longer than Marvel has had a presence.
Well, I mean, let's say what it is, right? Double A. It's like, I guess they still are number 3, right?
Oh yeah,
you know
yeah. I mean? That's always going to be.
But it's a strong number 3, man. And here's the thing too: is that what does it mean, Double A, when someone can break in and be new like that and establish a firm spot before you didn't know who the number 3 was? You were just like, there's just 2 companies.
It's Marvel, DC, and all these other indies.
That would be like if a third, you know, political party broke in all of a sudden, besides the Democrats, and made a major. You'd be like, holy shit! You know what I mean? Like, you know, there's Pepsi and there's Coke, right? Yes. But who's number 3?
Yeah.
Imagine Imagine if like RC like asserted itself,
RC
or whatever, and like was like, I'm number 3. It's like we will probably fight all day about who the number 3 cola is. I mean, but it's like Pepsi and Coke are the 2 and 1. Coke 1 and Pepsi 2. Yeah. It's established, right? Yeah. I think now we can firmly say that Marvel is 1, DC is 2.
Oh, yeah.
They hate that. I'm sure they hate that. I know a lot of people will argue with us, but
it's not. It's true.
It is what it is.
It's there. It's there in the records.
We've seen it growing up as Marvel guys, and there being a rivalry where we never even knew. We didn't have any DC friends. There was no DC rivals. Our good friend of the show, Albert, was like, I told him, I was like, in like 20 years of my life, at that time 23 or 24 maybe, I was like, you're the first. DC is your first, like label.
Someone that was actually like,
we were like, oh, you're like, and then I was like, oh, he's gonna love Superman and Batman, and he was like, I love Green Lantern, and I was like, wow, you're like a real DC guy. Like, that was fucking weird. And like our whole lives growing up with people we didn't know any fucking like, even my dad is a Marvel guy, so it's like, okay, it was like weird. Mario, a Marvel guy. We would go shop with people that we just met Marvel people. It was weird. So anyway, point being, for someone to come along and be firmly
like if you ask like what my wife's favorite like comic book property without her even knowing who's who, it's The Walking Dead. That's her favorite like property that she can watch.
Damn, Double-A, your wife's an Image
gal. Yeah, I was like, but she loves The Walking Dead property. Yeah, anything with The Walking Dead she loves.
Some people can't get into certain stuff, right? Double-A, they're like, they couldn't get into like superheroes. What do they say in Chasing Amy? Big guns, big tits, big pecs. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, it's like, and it's right? You know, like it's almost like a jab at Liefeld. You know what I mean?
It is.
You know, but hell, J. Scott Campbell. You know, Gen 13 is Gen 13 Image.
Yes, I think he started off at Image.
Draws some of the most gorgeous women on earth. I mean, like, you know, or in the world of comic book earth anyway. But you know, I mean, yeah, of course, that's what sells to young, you know, pubescent men or whatever. You know, but it is what it is, right? So. You know, there's that, right? But it's all those things, you know what I mean? The big guns, big tits, big pecs.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, but there's so much more to it, because when you do something like The Walking Dead, you bring in, you know, your wife. My girlfriend loves horror or whatever. It's like, you know, we started watching The Walking Dead season 3. We loved it. Yeah.
I mean, she's so invested when like a character dies, she's like really hurt when it happens, you know? She's gone to Comic Cons with me just because of the actors who play Walking Dead. You know, we have a poster with so many fucking signatures just from The Walking Dead.
I love it.
You know, it's like,
I love that, man. The Michonne sword. Your wife's got the Michonne sword.
And she loved it when I bought it for her for like a Mother's Day gift. It was like, she was like in love with it. She loved the Negan bat that came out.
I mean that moment at Fan Expo in Dallas, and we've talked about that numerous times on this show. But the Ben Thomas show just joined us. Ben Thomas and your show, welcome. We appreciate you having here. They say the Oxfather once again. Zach, thank you. So the Oxfather sent for us. He said subscribe to keep the great works. Thank you so much, my brother. We appreciate you. We will absolutely subscribe back and look forward to see what you're doing out here in this in the game, as we call it. But yeah, totally, man. It's something great when you can share it.
He said, that's awesome. I'm still trying to convert my fiance into being a bit more of a Fan Expo fan. And they're fine. My wife loves it. You know, she, like I said, she melted when like Norman Reedus held her hand.
Yeah. You know? I love the story you tell that story again, Joey, about your Negan bat, specifically what Jeffrey Dean Morgan, you know, put on there.
And that's just my wife again. You know, she's like, you play such a charming asshole. You know, and she loved the character, and she was like, you know, and she told him about the house that we had just bought. I was like, so he was like, you know, like
this house,
yeah. So he was like, you know, congratulations on your new house, and it was like he put like Jeffrey D. Morgan, pleasure to meet you both, you know.
Yeah.
But she was just like so enamored because it was like for her, it was still like she was talking to Negan, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
I love that when you tell, because again, if you meet Double A's wife, she's the most wonderful person. She enamored, but is not starstruck.
Oh,
no fear. Just talking to them like an average Joe. I'm like, I have been starstruck before. I've been like
yeah, like she was telling her like the house that we had just bought, and she thought he was a charming asshole on TV.
I would never say that to Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
And she just loves him so much.
I mean, earlier tonight, I met David Robinson, and I was kind of like, and I was like, as you know, if you watch the show, I don't know when to shut up. I'm not at a loss for words. Like, your wife does not become her. She's very great with that.
Yeah, she loves all the people for The Walking Dead. Hey, guys, thanks for coming. Ben Thomas, D. Martin. It says from the Collecting Weekly. Guys, give a shout out to
Dean. We appreciate you being here, man.
Give a shout out to our page or CM, and maybe we can get something going. You know, we've been invited to your show, or you know, you guys can come on our show.
Absolutely.
We can find any topic that you guys want to talk about, and you know, we can just jam on it. That's not a problem whatsoever. So just get with CM here if you want. Or
let me tell you, Double A, Dean the Dream, right there, man. I had the pleasure of being on a show with him, and when I get a chance to watch Collecting Weekly, I hear him talk some of the best, funniest opinions and great jokes. But also, the guy, in my opinion, only Double A will get this. Dean the Dream sounds like your cousin Phil.
Oh, okay.
Double A has a cousin named Phil that when I hear Dean, if I close my eyes and listen to you talk, I'm just like, shit, is that Phil talking? Like, it's just one of those things where like your voice sounds like his voice. And so I'm sure when Double A hears you talk, you know, he'll be like, oh man, that does sound like him.
And Ben Thomas said that would be fun. Well, yeah, guys, like I said, reach out to CM.
Yeah.
We can get something going. We can just you pick a topic if you want, and we can just jam on it. It doesn't matter if it's our show or your show. We can do either or.
You have all been so gracious to have me on once already. I loved it. Again, a little bit starstruck in my own right in that moment where I was kind of like, shit, there's like a lot of you. What do I say? Then you guys started talking toys, and I was like, I'm out of my league. But again, it does not mean that you were not gracious.
You guys can probably enlighten me too, because CM has a buddy at Trader's Village that it was a Marvel Legends figure. And I'm a big fan of the Gladiator character. Not a lot of people like Gladiator, but for some reason they're selling it for like $60, $60 or $65. And I was asking, like, man, why is fucking Gladiator out of everyone? Why is that one like $60, $70? And they were saying something about, you know, first off, it's part of those collections, CM, where it's the build, you know, you build a character, but it's something else too that Marvel wasn't really, at this point, they were trying not to do a lot of X-Men because Fox owned the rights, so they weren't really trying to go all out with the X-Men stuff. So they had stopped making X-Men toys or whatever, where they were focusing on the Avengers. This is like when the Ultimates came out.
Right.
Ultimate Avengers, when they were trying to build up the Avengers because they already knew the movies were going to be coming out soon. So they wanted the Avengers to be built up. X-Men was kind of on the back burner for a long time for Marvel during the 2000s. X-Men was kind of on the back burner. They were like, we don't want to help Fox.
They're moving on now.
Well, we don't want to help Fox. You know, Fox is making the money. We're not making any money from the movies. we're not going to hype up the comics anymore. We're going to go with Fantastic. We're going to go with Avengers.
Yeah.
We still own the Avengers. We're going to go with that. So it's kind of like I got like a weird answer. You know, it was kind of like maybe it was that, maybe not. So
I know that these guys would know. You know, Ben, you know, the Oxfather, Dean. I mean, I think this is great stuff. Double A to ask them because I would love to know like how much is it. I feel like collecting now, like in the action figure world, and I could be completely wrong. I feel like it is fan driven.
It is.
I think so. Are we the ones determining? Because if so, that's fantastic. But am I wrong? Is something like Double A said is right? Maybe there are still studio aspects because like why don't you get for the longest time I was looking at like Sabretooth figures. I wanted him with like the fur,
the orange suit, right?
Yes they just brought it back. I just saw it at GameStop and I was like, oh my god, I want to buy that bitch so bad. I don't know why I didn't pull a trigger or whatever. Probably because when I come home with a lot of
I love figures, that orange look too.
Yeah, my girlfriend. I haven't still shown you the big Swamp Thing I got. It's really badass. Oh my god, it's big too. I see you guys are getting us on toys. You're gonna love it when you see it.
Okay, you gotta show me a picture.
I will definitely show you, man. And you know, yeah, but that's another reason why I don't buy a lot because then the wife is like, you know, what the fuck is all this again? Need more toys, you know? So anyway, but yeah, for the longest time, I was trying to buy an older Sabretooth that had come out in that suit, and it was like always $70.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, why is this shit so much? But Double A, the stuff they're doing with toys, I mean, with 3D printing and all that, with collectors are doing, what fans are doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I told you I just bought my Wolverine like some metal claws, and I was like, this is the shit. Again, shout out to Bobby, who is again. This guy should be on Collecting Weekly much more than I should because he really knows his toys at another level. He's a wonderful, wonderful young man. Also, I consider he and I young, so I'll call him a young man. But we digress because we're talking Image, right?
Image is everything.
Image is everything, guys. And again, 7 guys, 7 of the greatest artists. I won't even say in comic books. I will say in the world, man. Todd McFarlane.
Oh,
Rob Liefeld.
And especially now, if you look at the auctions, Todd's stuff now is going for a shitload, and Jim Lee's stuff is going for a shitload now. So man, yeah, it's their time now, where they're the fucking established veterans.
Yeah,
you know, and,
this 30 years later now, you know what I mean?
And now their artwork is being praised. Like the one I see most from Todd McFarlane, obviously, besides the 300 Spider-Man, is the Wolverine. Where he's like that with his claws, and you see Hulk's face.
Hulk's reflection, a classic, iconic cover, man.
That has become like super iconic.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. But let's name them double. It's Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, Marc Silvestri, Eric Larsen,
Whilce Portacio,
and Jimmy Valentino. Man, I mean, like these 7 guys did something that, like,
and not just that, but J. Scott Campbell came from Image. And
Michael Turner
came from Image.
Robert Kirkman, a partner. Again, they did it lawyer style where they're like, we love you so much. You saved us. Be one of us.
It's like you said that story too, where, you know, he meets Rob Liefeld, you know, and he's like, Rob, you know, Youngblood's the one that started Image. It belongs in Image. He helped patch kind of like the things up with him and Todd, you know, him and Larsen, him and Silvestri.
What a love letter to them, right?
Yeah.
Like this is how much that Image meant to him. You know
I mean? Those are his heroes, and he was like, man, it'd just be cool. Okay, you might not be coming back to Image, but we can, you know, still publish your books, you know, that were Image, that are important to Image, and you can have a good relationship with the guys again, you know. And Rob Liefeld apparently has had a good relationship with Todd McFarlane again. They have patched it up.
That's great.
Larsen has been on his podcast. That was a good episode where they talk.
Nice.
You know, so I don't know how him and Marc Silvestri are.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm sure everything.
But it just shows that all things can be fixed, right? You know what I mean? Like I know you're a huge music fan, Double A, as am I. Not on your level, but as am I. But you see bands break up, get back together. The Eagles, right? It was notorious,
like
right?
Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, Guns.
Slash. You know?
I mean, we saw that one, and we were like, we thought that was never going to get better. You know what I mean? Look at us. We got to both see that lineup.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I know, again, I mentioned the Eagles because it's just a famous, you know,
when
Hell Freezes Over. And then they do it to Hell Freezes Over, which is so smart, right? What are you going to call it? Hell Freezes Over. So great. The Ben Thomas show says, I've been into 6 scale mostly.
Mostly lately.
For me,
mostly lately. but also having fun hunting down Batman animated series figures.
Oh man, those are so good,
yeah.
man. I've got a real Double A knows I've got a real hard on for Mr. Freeze and Clayface, and I've been, they're hard to
Real hard.
they're not it's not easy. I thought it was going to be easy, but it's not easy. And that's what I love. To me, the action figure collecting world to me is so fun to me because it reminds me of my old comic collecting days where I'm new to it. I don't know what I'm doing. There's like a intoxication of it, like fumbling around in the backseat with a new girl. You know what I mean? It's got the heady brew of making me be like, ooh, this is like fun. You know what I mean? Again, like, collecting comics was in the very beginning, and that's what. Although I still love collecting comics, me that's more like an old bar wench that I know her. I can pick her up any night. You know what I mean? She's good, but toys is different. I mean, I hear you guys even talk about 1/6 scale and all that. The scaling, I'm like, what the fuck do you guys mean? Break it down for me. Is that like a G.I. Joe size? I don't know. Like, I am a true layman. So, but that's what I would love to talk to you guys about because you guys are the real pros. We love meeting other people. When we talked to our really great friend doing the pressing.
Gabe.
Gabe,
Yeah.
yes, Gabe Flores, who pressed comic books and cleaned comic books. We didn't know that shit existed. We were like, what the fuck?
What, you get away?
Yeah, you get it wet? I mean, like, normally we're excited to get it wet, but I'm like, you're wetting the comic book?
Like,
that
what?
sounds like the wrong thing to do. And then he's like, oh, I use like an iron. Like an iron.
Yeah.
I'm like, this sounds like everything you're not supposed to do. But Gabe, such a knowledgeable, smart individual about the world of comics and cleaning comic books. You know what I mean? When we met again, our great friends at the Luchador or whatever, Jesse. We didn't know shit about the bars. We were like, we like your bar because it's got wrestling all over it. You know what I mean? Like, so that is 100% a reason why we would love to talk to you guys at Collecting Weekly more about toys and educate us. So that way, when we speak about such things, we will have a skin in the game and know what we're talking about. Shit, Double A. I don't know if I have anything else. Regarding Image Comics and their 30-year run that they've done, from being the It Kids, the rock stars, the Beatles on the block, and rising and falling and then out of the ashes.
Again, I don't know if you'll ever see something like that again. I don't know if you'll see another like multi-million comic book sales like that again. I don't know if you ever see another kind of company like Image come up again like it did like that. Mm-hmm. The books that it did, we didn't even mention like Saga is usually considered one of the best Image books by Friendis.
About Saga, yeah.
Matt Fraction, who's hot writer, Sex Criminals.
Sex Criminals, yes.
Something that never would have been published.
The Kirkman episode, they said that.
Yeah, something that would never be published under Marvel or DC.
Which me watching that episode made me go buy that first 2 books of Sex Criminals, and I let you read the first one.
And that first one was good.
Like, dude, what the fuck? This idea is so wild,
Kick-Ass, again, got picked up. It was a Marvel imprint, but it got picked up by Image. That's cool. Stuff like Spawn, stuff like Youngblood, Savage Dragon, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's... Even the way it looks, like, you would never believe, like, Savage Dragon really made it, right. But it's, like, at 300.
I will forever in my mind, when you say Savage Dragon, do you know what image I think of? That one with his arms crossed in the cop uniform with the short sleeves, where he's so buff, and I was almost like, man, he looks like kind of like Hulk, or whatever, but with a big fin. And I was like, it's such a great image, cover. You know what I mean? This is how impactful, even without us reading those books were, because we saw the art so much.
And not just that, but the talent it produced.
Yeah,
the writers that they were able to get. Alan Moore took on Supreme from Rob Liefeld, and that's actually considered one of his best runs. Mm-hmm. Is Supreme.
And Supreme, they put him in that category with your Supermans, your Homelanders.
But they said that he turned it to where it was like that first, the violent Superman, to where it was like a love letter to the Silver Age Superman. He changed it. He changed the whole aspect. He did away with everything that was like that and made it his own, to where Supreme was like a good guy.
Nice.
Yeah. So Neil Gaiman has written for Image. Robert Kirkman. I mean, so much good stuff has come from Image.
Alan Moore, interesting writer to think about. Do I really want him touching Superman? I'm like, I
But
guess so.
actually,
'Cause he
they're
has.
saying, yeah,
Yeah.
he created the last story for Superman, and it's even considered one of the best. So
It makes you think about the man, right? You think about Alan Moore sometimes. You're like, there's something in you. There's
but he
that.
can though. He can write it though, and make it a love letter to Superman.
I think that Superman though is that character double that some people are like, you don't mess up this one.
And Alan Moore, I guess, had enough respect, to not do that. Too. So
When we saw how Ennis treated Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Daredevil in Confederacy of Dunces, which we love to talk about, but again, I don't think that he hates those characters. I think that he's just like someone like the Punisher should be more lauded, and this is why.
Yeah.
And then he tells you why it's different. I know. See, we're getting in our soapbox. The booze is flowing. CM Chuck gets on his soapbox about artists and writers.
But no, it's a cool story of kind of like, we're tired of working for this company. We're tired of giving you everything we got.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to start our own business. We're going to be our own boss.
How many of us have felt that way?
Exactly. We're going to be our own guy. We're not going to depend on you. We're going to gamble on ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're going to be confident enough that we're going to win with ourselves and this bullpen,
Like we said, Double A, I mean, Image is still going strong. Sex Criminals from Matt Fraction, great run also on. Obviously, he went on to Marvel, so it's like he was doing that stuff. He did, I think Hawkeye
and Thor.
The
Hawkeye is
and Fantastic Four.
But the Hawkeye is like his big one, where they got the show from.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me tell you guys, what all that tells me is that we will in our time soon probably see Sex Criminals somewhere,
and
it'll be on an HBO series or something like that. It's going to be there.
It's funny because they did say that it was Image over writing, to where in the 2000s 2010s it became the writing over the art,
right,
where it became
That's
more
when it
writer
switched
focused.
over. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Holty Bear in the house. He says,
Hey,
what's up,
what's up,
fellas?
John?
And he puts his name. But John, I can clearly see your name here.
Yeah.
So wonderful. Whatever you did, you're doing it right, because I can see your name clear as the nose on my face.
It's 30 years. Again, it was a gamble. 7 guys that weren't too sure if it was going to last. Marvel and DC said it wouldn't last for 6 months. It's 30 years later. They've had a presence on TV, movies, shirts. You seen them. You probably don't even know it's Image.
Mm-hmm. We're wearing Image founder
Image
shirt
books.
drawn.
Image books are being graded and being sold at Comic Cons. You're seeing Walking Dead issue 1 is being considered one of the holy grails of the comic book buyers. Invincible. Spawn issue 1 is still a really great key collection in any collection.
And I'm sure even a high grade goes for a lot.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
You can still, it's very still affordable, but it's a key collector to have in your comic book collection.
Yeah.
So I mean, man, it's great. They've had a great presence.
Absolutely, man.
And they've carved out their piece.
I mean, and again, you went up against 2 giants established.
And at one time, you actually
years.
beat one of them.
Yeah, and at one time to topple one. Double A, I said it in my write-up, right? But what a great movie it will make. They will eventually make the Image movie.
They should.
And I'm going to challenge. I'm going to challenge you right now, and I'm going to challenge the Friday Night Faithful, all you Friday Nighters out there. Give me your cast.
Oh shit! For the guys.
For the guys, the 7.
Oh shit!
In oh wait, I should do it like this. Oh wait, I should do it like this. Shit. Thank you, camera. There. The 7. I still feels backwards. The 7 creators, founders of Image Comics. Who would you cast to play them? I already said, if we get him some really high platform shoes, Marc Silvestri, Tom Cruise.
Oh man, you're gonna need like really big. You're gonna need
really
like
big
kiss shoes.
because he's a tall fucker, right?
Yeah, no, he is. He's tall. Yeah.
You haven't met him yet, right?
No.
Who have we met? Double A, run it down.
So we met Jim Lee's probably the biggest.
We met Jim Lee.
Rob Liefeld.
We met Rob Liefeld,
and then it's Whilce Portacio.
We met Whilce and we met Jim Lee together.
Yes, we've met Jim Lee together. We met Whilce Portacio together,
and we met Rob Liefeld separately.
Todd would still be my number one out of all. As much as I love Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld.
What do you get signed, Double?
Spawn issue 1 and Spider-Man. But see, that's the thing too, because that Wolverine cover is sweet.
And you have it.
Yeah, so that's fucking sweet too.
You have it just laying around, right?
No. Will has it. That's,
locked up.
if it's Hulk, yeah, that's his. But I mean, man, it's like Spider-Man 300 too. Golly, that's such a great one too.
Okay, this is the question is a side question now. So Will has that. That's Will's issue. You're going to go meet Todd. You take Will's issue to get it signed.
Yeah, because I've done it before.
And you returned it back to him.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he likes it. He's like, cool.
I was saying, you will have children of your own now. That will go on to,
and it would. Yeah.
You know. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, he has no problem with me getting signatures on his books. He's like, yeah.
I'm just saying, you could get 2 books signed. Now you see my inner greed coming out.
That's the thing though. It's like Todd has so many great covers. Like,
I don't know what that Batman one goes for, but damn, that's a gorgeous.
Now it has, and seeing it when Rick was buying it for Mario. Golly, the red, the cape flowing.
You know what? Yeah. I didn't know how much I appreciated that cover. You know, they made a Funko Pop of that one. I was like, oh. That's pretty gorgeous.
But Todd has so many great covers.
Countless great covers.
I wouldn't even know. Like, Spawn issue 1, just because of the sentimental value, pretty much what it has to me.
Everything you've ever said.
It's my first comic. I bought it at Collectors from Mario. You know,
I love
Todd was my superstar. He was my Stanley.
Yeah.
That's the guy I saw first. It's like you say, you didn't see these
It's
guys.
Not a particularly great cover. It's good.
It's a cool cover. It's
cool.
It's flashy. It's cool. But it's just what it brings. Mm-hmm. Spawn was kind of like the first character I got into on my own. That I was like, I saw a cartoon. I loved the Al Simmons character.
Yeah.
Loved the Spawn character. Loved the lore. I bought it at Mario's. It was on his wall at Collectors. $20. Here you go. I want Spawn issue 1, and I fucking got home, opened it, and just read the fuck out of that book.
In our heyday, there were things that we didn't like, or that we liked that other people didn't like. The majority of who we hung out with didn't like. But we're like, you know what? This is cool because this is mine.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that. I love when you tell that story. I don't get tired of hearing it.
Like with you, it's like Preacher. Like, I'm sure the way you felt about Preacher is probably the way I felt about Spawn.
I had to convince people to read it. Yeah. I was like, I had to. But the people that I managed to convince all loved it.
Yeah.
I convinced non-comic book people to read that, and they liked it.
I remember Adam was like reading it.
He spilled Kool-Aid on my book too and had to buy me another one, which I was like, this is not a joke, motherfucker. Johnny says, sometimes you always have to follow your dreams. Absolutely, sir. All the time. We're trying.
But Todd would be the next one I would love to meet. Then it'd probably be Silvestri. Larsen. I mean, if I could get that cool Venom cover
with the skull.
Well, that one too.
That one
That one too. But the other one where it's his face, and you see Spider-Man in his eyes.
Oh,
golly, that's such a great cover.
What a great one! I just love that I can visualize it. You guys. Look up Eric Larson Spider-Man covers, and you guys will see what we're talking about.
Look at John. Sure. Come on, John.
I'm still trying to convince you guys on Quasar. You know, John, the way things are going...
You should have bought it when you had a chance. You should have bought that whole collection when you had...
You know what, John? Don't listen to us. For all we know, next week the guy will have a show on fucking Disney+.
Shit, right?
You know what I mean?
Golly,
coming soon. Shit. Fucking, they're going to cast Dolph Lundgren as Quasar.
Fuck.
You know what I mean? If we get lucky. Or maybe, what's his name that played Flash Gordon?
Oh, man. Oh, shit. Sam something, I think?
Sam something. That guy will be...
But you know what? If you ever hear, real quick before we end, if you ever hear like Rob Liefeld, he's always saying like the mark he's always happy that he's made on the comic book industry is forming Image. Jim Lee has always said he's proud that he was part of that. Todd McFarlane, that's like his company. Mm-hmm. He loves it. Mm-hmm. It's like you said, there's always going to be Image. Spawn's always going to be Image.
I thought that was so poignant to hear him say. I was like, that documentary ends great. Again, guys, the Image Revolution on YouTube for free, an hour 30. It's just fun. If you don't even like comics, it's fun. It's one of those interesting things, like the way you always say, 30 for 30s. You could hate the fucking Miami Dolphins.
I love
that wasn't a shot, John, but I'm just saying.
But like one of my favorite episodes is where the NFL went on strike and the replacements came in, and it's pretty much based on the Washington Redskins.
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of that team, but I love watching that documentary.
30 for 30 is what the old Behind the Music was.
Yeah. Yes.
Remember what was the old quote about Behind the Music? They made the Carpenters look interesting or something like that.
Yep. And they were always good stories.
Story. Yeah. That's the reason why I tagged you today in that Jim Kelly video, because I know that you can appreciate the great football.
I love it. That Buffalo team.
I was like, look at this. This is and I love too when fans of just the sport will make like a cut of a video. They're like, oh, I'm going to cut all this guy's stuff together.
Jim Kelly was fucking beautiful to watch. It's like I said with Mike Tyson. Man, that guy was a beautiful fucking machine in the 80s.
Yeah.
Just to see him move, dodge, punch. Man, it was beautiful to watch that dude.
And people wonder sometimes, they're like, oh, you guys are posting sports. I thought you guys were pop culture.
And we are. It's part of pop culture.
Sports is part of popular culture or whatever, because there are so many people that just, that's what's popular to them is sports. So they're only into that or whatever. So I guess it's covering everything.
But, Robert Kirkman, he fell in love with Image. Image was his company.
Mm-hmm.
He left Marvel. He was like, you know what? I'm not happy here. I'm going to Image. Where Todd was like, he said, fuck Marvel.
Yeah.
And I'm coming to Image. I'm working with Image. He was like, we got to make him a partner just for that.
I just love Todd's pride, right? Like, to me, that would be like if some guy, like some rando guy campaigned to be our third host. Like, I'll do anything to be the third host. I fucking love, like,
and then you're like, holy
I would
shit,
be like,
this guy loves
shit,
it.
I'm enamored. I'm flattered by that.
Yeah.
Like, it's flattering.
Well, it's like when we actually did pick up Joe. We didn't know who fucking Joe was. We're like, do you know Joe? Like, I remember asking him, I was like, do you know who Joe is? Yeah. He was like, man, I was like, wow, we actually have like a fan that loves the fucking show.
We were like, wow, this is like our first like organic fan, not like our friends watching us. Not that we don't love you guys.
Yeah, it's great. But when you actually get like someone that's like, man, I love your show.
It's exciting.
Like, wow.
Yeah, it's nice. It's like, hey, that you're appreciated, whatever. Shit, right now, just seeing like Dean,
that's
Ben
cool
Thomas,
too. Thanks, Collecting Weekly guys.
Collecting Weekly, the Oxfather. You guys are amazing, and we all met through this little world, whatever.
Jerry,
Lucky, the Dork Dad,
Anthony,
yeah.
Lucky.
I don't want to not give Lucky all the credit in the world, because without him, I mean, like another big toy guy, whatever. That without all this,
we have this whole community that we planned an episode already in July for a wrestling episode with like a whole huge committee of podcasts that were, it's like me and CM are like, he said we're the rockers in this group, we're gonna come in and fucking, do some shit. Like, that's amazing. When we started this, honestly, we never thought, hey, we're gonna meet a whole community of fucking podcasters and we're gonna have all these new relationships. Me and CM have picked up like so many friends now that we've hung out with, that we've learned new things. Gabe, we learned comic pressing from Gabe with Luck, with Joe, with Jerry.
Dude, Rizzo.
Like
drank beer with Rizzo on my birthday, you know what I mean? And
Luchador Bar, I mean, golly, we really, like, we have, like, a whole fucking village that we've established, just not even thinking about that, like, 2 years ago. Honestly,
no,
I didn't think about that.
We thought, Double A used to say, he said, we're like the band in the garage. He used to say that, right? You're like, we're like the band in the garage. Now, we still kind of are.
Or
That's
Image.
What makes
we're
it
like
good.
Image.
Like Image, right? Like Image.
Taking a chance.
Good segue. Absolutely. So, yeah, man, all we can tell you guys is, if you don't know, if you're just a Marvel guy, a DC guy, which we were at one time, we were just like Marvel guys, go check it out. Look up some Image books.
And we've gone on record too. We just don't love Marvel and DC. We love Image. We love Dark Horse.
We love comic books.
We can do a whole episode on Dark Horse just on their presence.
Yeah. What about Vertigo?
Vertigo.
I mean,
we can just do, even though it's a DC imprint, we can do a whole episode just on the Vertigo line.
Dynamite.
IDW.
We did an episode. Yeah, IDW. We did an episode way back when where we covered, the Django Zorro book, and it was like, that's a Dynamite primarily Dynamite Vertigo book. You know what I mean? So there's that. I mean, there's a multitude of things that Again, we're fans of the medium. You know what I mean? So comic books, whatever, but also like we said, movies.
Yeah, and it's really honestly, it's because of Spawn and Preacher for me that I was like, you know what? There is some
other stuff.
There is other stuff that I can enjoy from superheroes. That's not superhero.
Yeah. For me, shout out to my friend Ben, way back in art class in 10th grade, loaning me his trade of Preacher 1 and 2, and he also loaned me The Authority, which I was like, didn't think that I was gonna like Apollo and the Midnighter, a Superman and a Batman that were, lovers. I was just like, I don't think this is for me, whatever. And I was like, wildly entertaining.
Yeah, entertaining
book.
Yeah.
So much so that even like Garth Ennis, my favorite writer in comic books, takes on the Midnighter, in his own solo story, which I thought was hilarious. I quote that book endlessly to people. Where there's a great group of panels that he writes where the Midnighter is trying to explain to these people in the future that he's homosexual, and they're all laughing at him, and he's like, "What the fuck are you laughing at?" or whatever, and they're like, "There's no gay or straight no more. Like it's just people just love people, and everyone just fucks everyone or whatever." And I was like, "Wow, that's kind of really poignant in its own way." And this is like fucking 20 years ago. I read this shit, and I'm like, "Wow, we're getting there." You know what I mean? It's just interesting, perspectives on society, and again, that's what that is. Johnny says, "You guys have come a long way. Thank you so much."
Yeah, and you know what?
That.
I want to say maybe that Image is kind of like the company and kind of kicked that whole thing down.
Yeah, they are.
That was like
they weren't afraid to do that.
Yeah, you can bring your comics, give us an angle why this should be made, and we'll publish it.
Remember when? Oh my gosh, Double A, you had such a great post a few weeks ago. Well, no, it wasn't a post. I think you texted me, but it was about Speedy.
Oh yeah,
the fucking Green Arrow's sidekick. Yeah. Did y'all know the Green Arrow had a sidekick? They didn't put this in that Arrow show that I know of.
Speedy.
But Double A was like, this is a big deal, right? Because rest in peace to the great Neil Adams, right?
Yes.
He drew this famous cover.
I think it was him and Danny O'Neill.
And Danny O'Neill working on
it.
What a duo! What a duo! Yeah. And I want you and I to be Danny O'Neill and Neil Adams.
Stanley, Jack Kirby,
exactly.
Siegel Schuster.
Exactly. Those guys. We want to be those guys. But this was like a famous story, right? Because the Green Arrow had
Speedy was his sister.
Oh, okay. Was she also on drugs, Holty? Because in the comic books, he was a boy.
It's a sidekick.
It was his sidekick to Arrow. It was a male, and it was a big deal because it was like the first
time that they really introduced something like drugs into the comic.
And they also didn't have the approval of the comic code or whatever. Who was it that famously said what?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Who was it that famously said, "What's in the comic code?" and no one could tell them? Todd says, "What is it?"
They always keep mentioning the comic code, and every time I ask, he's like, "No one can give me a straight answer."
Image comics are like the antithesis to the comic code, but Stanley, it was essentially like the rating system.
First off, Stanley was kind of the first one that said, "Fuck the system," when he did his own kind of drug with Harry. But it wasn't as strong as the Danny O'Neill, Neil Adams. But Stanley was kind of like the first one that said, "You know what? We don't need it."
With which book?
With Harry, when he was getting into the pills.
Oh.
Stanley was like, "Fuck
I didn't know that predated
code."
Speedy.
Yeah, he was like, "Fuck the code. We'll publish it." But the Speedy one was more extreme.
And it was on the cover.
Harry was just the pills.
Yeah.
This motherfucker is doing heroin.
Oh, Speedy was on that gas. He was like,
yeah, there's like a needle
and the Green Lantern is there, and he's like, "What the fuck, Green Arrow? Pay fucking attention!
Yeah, Green Arrow's
You're the worst."
Green Arrow's like, "My sidekick's a junkie."
And not even that, but what derogatory language, Green Arrow? Get your shit together, man. What the fuck? Don't call him a junkie.
Oh,
he's trying to get off smack.
I mean, you're catching Speedy like right in the middle of him shooting up.
Double A, have you ever looked that book up? What does that book go for?
I've never have actually.
We gotta ask Mario about that and be like, Mario, we want that junkie.
I know.
Cover.
I need to buy it and I need to hang it up here.
I think you have the famous Tony Stark demon in a bottle.
Yeah, it's up here. Yeah, it's up here. It's
right there it is. Look at that piece of shit. You fucking drunk. As I booze up.
As we drink.
What the fuck, man? Oh, man. But Speedy.
Yeah, it was a text. I didn't put that on there.
Yeah, that was on a text. And I was just like, I was dying at work. I was like, wow, this is what I need to see today. Is this fuck. And Double A's like, man, what a piece of shit the Green Arrow is. He doesn't even know what the fuck his sidekick is up to. And I was just like, yeah, he's just like Batman. Just another rich asshole. He doesn't know what's going on. Yeah. Get your shit together, man. People are on drugs out there. It's fucking terrible. But to bring it full circle, the Image was the antithesis. Yeah. They were never going to obey the comic code. They were like, we're going to do what we want. And that shit was so badass, man. I love that Doc Double A. Thank you for sending that to me. Thank you for suggesting this. These guys deserve it, man.
Yeah.
I know you've been a huge fan of Rob Observations, Liefeld's podcast for a while. Since probably we've been doing the show. I had the great distinction of meeting him a few weeks ago, and again, he could have signed nothing for me. He could have been. He was charging a lot for certain books I did have that I would have wanted signed, But despite that, the way he acted as a human being won me over. And I was very happy to get the books that he did give me. I was like, my nephew thought that it was so cool.
Honestly, I would have loved that deal too. Honestly, if I could have afforded it, I would have loved that deal too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, for that deal that I got, although it was no old books, nothing like this, although it was not that, for what I paid, I got a stack of books signed, and to see my nephew's face be like, with like, oh, he did this Carnage, he did this one of Venom, he did, because it was a lot of those. He thought that was the coolest. I was like, you know what? I didn't care if I had fucking the first issue of fucking whatever.
It was kind of like when I took my daughter to meet Val Merrick. Val Merrick is the co-creator of Howard the Duck. She loved that stupid movie. Wow. She loves that movie.
I love that movie.
Yeah, she loves that movie. And so for her meeting him, it was like a big deal. She was like, "Oh wow, like you're the one who created Howard the Duck." Like she loved it. She took a picture, and she got something signed from Howard the Duck.
Awesome.
So she loved it. It was something cool for them to, probably for Cal. It's like, oh wow, this is the guy who created Deadpool.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
He kept saying that, and a couple of the covers we have. I mean, like it's a cover, it's a new book.
I like those covers though. I honestly, I would have loved that package deal. I could have afforded it. I would have loved to have had it, and I would have loved to have those books signed. Honestly.
Go back a few episodes, guys. I show the covers. 1 or 2 episodes ago, I showed the covers that I got, and I was really enamored again and again. I was mainly enamored about the type of human being that Rob Liefeld was. So, despite whatever mistakes he may have made in the past,
and like I said, that's
despite what he does artist-wise.
That's in the comics. That's in the comics world.
Yeah.
With his fans, the way I've seen it, he's always just been great. He's always been great with us.
The fact of the matter is, guys, is that a lot of times we're fans of other human beings for what they do that's extraordinary beyond what we can do, whether they're a great athlete or they're a great artist or they're a great musician or whatever. But guess what? At the end of the day, they're still human like we are, and they are capable of transgressions as we all are.
Like we all are, yeah.
The difference is that because they're really great at something else, their shit gets put out in the public a lot more than ours does. I've been rude to people. I have failed people or whatever, but no one gives a fuck about what I'm doing. You know what I mean? It's like,
when I was at Walmart, I had talked so much shit to everybody that one of my friends got promoted to a boss. They had the meeting, and she said at one point everyone had said "fuck Adam" at one point.
Yeah,
that's how much shit talking I was doing. So I mean, it was for them. They saw me as an asshole. For me, I saw them as assholes. So yeah.
And as long as I know this man and people I know that know him, they'd be like, we would never say that about this guy. So that's just fucking weird to hear. I just talked about you today in your Rob Halford story because I met an old rocker at my job.
Oh, really?
And we were exchanging stories, and she even looked back. She sat back in her chair and said, "How old are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm 40." And she was like, I would never have guessed you were that old. But I was telling her about seeing Ozfest in like '04 or whatever, and she was like, "What?" And I told her like your Halford story. So she was like, "That's fucking cool." As I said, I told her that I asked you. I said, "What was he buying?" And you were like, "Oh, he had like some black T-shirts in there."
He was like,
and everybody that was in the group listening to the story, they're like, "Yeah, that's what he would have been buying." I was like, "It's such a great story." I love that story. Go back and listen to that episode too. But guys, they were rebels. They were fucking they were trailblazers. They were visionaries. Pioneers, man. They were young. I mean, like, this has not happened since in the comic book world. Yeah. This was the 90s, y'all. Like, this was like 30 years ago. You know what I mean? So it was the 90s. I mean, like, this shit was happening when like, Nirvana was coming out. Pearl Jam was out.
Yep.
I mean, like...
everything new, fresh. That was coming out, and
people
like, loved it. Spike Lee was loving it. Lee was loving it.
Levi's loved it.
Dennis Miller had Rob Liefeld on the show.
They said it. They were like, we were like the fucking Beatles. We were like the Beatles. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if there's been a comic book writer or artist on a late night show in a while.
And again, real quick, Robservations. He has an episode. It's called like The Last Ride or something like that, and he details the kind of like the last time these 7 people had been together. He said it was like around 2008, the last time that they had all been together. It's a really cool episode. He discusses why they probably never will be together again, like at a Comic-Con or anything.
Really?
Yeah, but it's a really great episode of how they all, because of Kirkman, patched up their stuff. He talks about the dinner that Todd and Wanda that's Todd's wife, Wanda.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that and his daughter is Cyan. So,
I had no
yeah.
idea.
And he talks about how Todd invited all the guys, their wives, and what his wife Wanda made them a dinner, and they were all discussing their memories, how they put image together, and that Todd took Rob and showed him some of his old art that he still had. And it's a really cool episode. You can tell Rob really loves it. He still loves thinking about it, and he says Kirkman is responsible for that last time that they were all together. At a Comic-Con. It's a great episode. It's a really good episode. Observations.
What a great end scene to that movie, I told you.
Yeah, and there's like a really cool picture. It's like, they had like one, they all did some like signing at a comic store. And it was just like, it lasted for like hours and hours. Like they stayed there like till like 10 o'clock at night. And there's this really cool picture. It's like Jim Lee has a cigar in his mouth and they're all together. It's a really cool image.
Jim Lee, the man.
Yeah.
Double-A. Don't leave me on a cliffhanger. Tell me why they said why it wouldn't happen again. Oh, wait, it's a long time ago now from now.
He said Jim Lee. It's always kind of like Jim Lee's always kind of like the one who kind of is like, yes, no, yes, no.
He is the man at DC now.
He is.
He's the man.
But
like
he says there's no reason why he can't do it.
Because he is the man.
Because he is the man. But then he said like Valentino too, he's kind of a third age and he's had some health issues, and he said with COVID too, a lot of them are just like not willing to do the shows anymore again. I guess everything that's come out of the COVID, how we pass germs, all this kind of stuff, that a lot of them are unwilling to do Comic-Cons again. So he said it's just a big mess. It's too much trouble. He said most of them are in. It's just Jim Lee's kind of like the one guy that's kind of like...
It'd be great if they met once a year, even if it was virtual.
Right.
Once a year, get together and just talk about stuff.
What they did, they shook up the industry. It's a great story.
Shook it to its core, Double-A. Made again. Listen to what are the things I listed, Double-A? I talked about Coke and Pepsi. I talked about the Republicans and the Democrats. Yeah. I talked about like there's not number threes. These guys made a number three.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, like let's
they
just
brought
talk
DC
about,
to its knees.
Look at what happened. Let's just talk about like pop culture franchises, right? It's like right now the thing I hear about a lot, Double-A, is Marvel and Star Wars. It's like I don't really think that those guys were rivals. Kind of love both, but that's the rivalry that's there. Whatever it's like when it comes to like movies and like multimedia empires, right?
Yeah,
you're like those two guys right now are it, right? You're like, who would be a number three? I don't even know that you would really consider DC a number three.
No, you wouldn't.
You're almost starting to think outside the box. You're like, is it the Harry Potter franchise? Is it Indiana Jones? Is it what is? So nothing's close.
Here it is. It's the March. It will be in the March of this year. It's called Image Comics: The Last Dance. It's on Observations. It's a really cool episode. It's probably the last time right there that they were all together.
Love that. Love that.
He named it The Last Dance because of the Michael Jordan thing.
Yeah.
The Last Dance.
Perfect.
But it's a really cool episode. It's 57 minutes long, but he does a really good job. There's that picture I told you right there. That's like the last time they've all been together. There's Todd's house when he had him, when he made dinner for all of them, his wife, Cyan.
Dude, you got to post these.
Yeah, and it's Observations, and it's a really cool episode if you just kind of want to find out, like, how they all got together one more time.
I love that, man. Double-A again showing some pictures from his phone here if you're just listening to us.
He goes, well, real quick, this is like the summary.
Go ahead.
He goes, McFarlane, Liefeld, Lee, Silvestri, Valentino, Larsen, Portacio. 14 years ago, the 7 original Image founders assembled for what would be their very last time together. A walk through the timeline of the events that gathered them for one final historic appearance. And it's cool. It's just a really cool image. Again, they're older.
Yeah.
But they
look
like they're still having a good time. Yeah.
It's
a really cool story of how they got back together for like one time.
And it's funny, Double-A, right? Because I've been thinking about that a lot lately or whatever. It's like when you have these moments with people in your life, whether it's at a job or at whatever, a gathering, you're like, as we get older, it may be the last time that you're ever with those people again, you know? I read this crazy. I think I mentioned it on here before, but I read this crazy meme a long time ago, and it said something like, it's a picture of like a light outside, like a street light, and it says, "One day you went outside to play with your friends, and it was the last time you went outside."
Yeah,
You never think about that.
You don't think about it. Like, I always think about the basketball games we used to have when it was me, you, Adam, Mark, Will, Boy, John. Sometimes whenever he would feel into it,
Yeah, Ray. Yeah.
Ray too sometimes. But I mean, it was like those times. It's like we would rent the gym.
Oh,
It's kind of like, golly, and it's
Running
been
them
so
full
long
courts.
ago, and I don't. Sometimes I think about it. Could we ever do that again? And I'm kind of like, probably not. Schedules, us not being in shape anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
Maybe half court.
well, no, yeah, because I talked to Mark the last time I saw him at John and Roxanne's get together, and he was like, "Man, I haven't even played basketball in years." It goes years since I even dribbled. Like,
To hear that guy say
I know,
that,
I was like,
who
wow,
was like the last of us,
because he would come to our house so many times just to practice with Boy, because Boy was my brother Art was like the basketball guru, and he was like the street ball legend, and so Mark would like every time he'd think like, okay, I'm at another level, he'd go to like my brother to like try out everything he's learned, and now it's like when he told me that he doesn't even play anymore, I'm like, oh wow, I was like, damn, I was like, I told him straight out, I was like, who, Boy, when I guarded you when I was like at 200 pounds, I was like fucking running all over the place. I was like trying to keep up with you. I was like, golly, it was like
just exhausted, right?
But it was fun. It was just, I sometimes remember those days, and just we'd all be sitting down with my dad's old air conditioner, like a fucking 60s air conditioner, and we'd be out there with the fucking bugs, and we'd be sweating, and tensions would be high. Everyone would, we all loved each other, but it was like, fuck you,
Yeah.
we get into like some, like it'd be that testosterone flowing through us, and we're like, man, you found me, motherfucker. It's kinda like,
and it makes you think, right? Like, I mean, like, it's funny because you right now you're talking about, Boy, your brother Art, play, and it's like, it's not like I can go to YouTube and look up clips of him. I have to try to remember it, and I remember, and I'm thinking about it right now, hearing you say that, I'm like, man, I miss watching him play.
Because when he was hot, golly, he was like doing turnarounds, faking. Man, he made Adam look like like my brother looked like Akeem Olajuwon on some dude, some like Sean Bradley dude.
I remember my friends from California coming to San Antonio and playing with him, and they had played high school ball in California, and then being like, man, he's like one of the best players we played with. They said, man. One of them said this, and I didn't really get it, but he was like, his game isn't pretty. They're like, but it's effective. And they said,
it is,
and at that time, it might have been like the early days of Ginobili. They were like, man, he really plays like Ginobili or whatever, which I was kind of, in my mind, I was like, should I knew, your brother way before Ginobili. I was like, no, Ginobili kind of plays like him.
Yeah, because it was kind of like my brother played like on so many courts with so many different people, strangers. And, just learning from that, and the way he played, it was like, golly, he could have really been like a street ball legend, honestly. I mean, he was just that good. He practiced.
He could have probably been a high school collegiate
He
sport
probably could have,
too,
honestly.
You know what I mean?
He wasn't big. He would never, I'm not saying he would be an NBA level, but it's just the way he was, the way he practiced every day. It was like, it was like every damn shot he would attempt, it would always almost go in.
I don't know, Double A. I think he could have definitely been a 6-man. I think.
I mean,
I think just, because you know what, your brother fucking hated to lose.
Yeah.
He like, his competitiveness was definitely there. Like, it was like, shit, that shit is like, it was kind of scary. I played with him a lot. I was like, it was like, I think that I got paired with your brother because they were like, he really wants to win by himself. And, Charlie, you're the closest to him playing alone. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm okay with that.
And where it kind of goes back like to this, what we're talking about, it's just that memories that you have, even though it's kind of like everyone's kind of like drifted, everyone's had families. It's always that when we do get together, those rare times.
Yeah.
When we actually do get together and we talk about those times, it's,
yeah.
I can imagine that's probably what it was like for them to talk about forming Image and the impact they had, and even probably talking about their feuds, You know, like,
Oh, yeah.
oh man, you remember when we fucking hated each other and we're saying this and that, they're probably laughing, you know, at dinner. It's probably like what we've had before. We've had these kind of talks before, you know, here and there, and you can just imagine there. It's that closeness,
Yeah,
that keeps them there.
they're
you
like
know?
a brotherhood. They are. They did something unique and special, and it wasn't unique and special like in their neighborhood or in their city or in their state. They did something unique and special in the world.
Yeah.
And in the world of an industry, in the world of comic books, they changed things.
Yeah.
For me, Double A, I pray that in our lifetime, one more time, we get together to see, you know, Todd and Rob and Jim and Mark and Eric and Jimmy and Whilce one more time to be together, even if it's virtually, even if it's on a panel at a con where they're separate 6 feet, even if 5 of them are there and 2 are virtual, whatever, one more time to just hear them and just let them run, man. Just turn on the thing and record them video, audio, talking and hear them talk about it, because again, guys, like, we can't hear from Siegel and Schuster no more. We can't hear from Lee and Kirby no more. We can't hear from Ditko. We can't hear from, you know, these guys passed, and these guys did something. Number one, it was just fucking cool. It was rebellious. It was rad. It was like, I think that if we'd have been a little bit older, Double A, at the time when the craze was there, we would have been at whatever local comic store was here in town to be like, we want to be Image guys and we want to get those books. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like one person said on the doc too. It was kind of like, this was something I can actually get into. Mm-hmm. I can be on the ground level. I can
start. Right.
I can be on the ground level of this revolution that's happening.
Right.
I mean, that's cool, you know?
Yeah, even if your thought process was like, oh, it's a get rich quick for me or whatever, it's like, it was still pretty fucking badass.
But for the real fans, it's kind of like, wow, like I'm on the ground floor of this.
You wanted to feel like how maybe your dad or your uncle or whoever got you into comics felt when they first held a Fantastic Four or first saw Spider-Man. Like, they thought that when they were opening an issue of Spawn, they were like, this is a new Spider-Man, like the first time this hero is being read and it's by me, you know, like that was so cool. And I will forever admire those guys at Image for that, taking a chance,
for the balls that they took. Because a lot of them
absolute fucking balls.
Because a lot of them said, Eric Larsen said, do I really want to do this? I just put a down payment on a house. Jim Lee had said, you know, he had a family. You know, Mark, I think, said he was in a good place where he could do this. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a risk for a lot of them. You know, they were like, you know, like he even says, I need to sell 60,000 copies of this in order to make what I was making at what X-Men was, you know. And I mean, Jim Valentino was like in his like late 30s, 40s, saying, you know, his wife was saying he was crazy.
Yeah.
For leaving Marvel.
You're leaving the bigs.
For something that might not even happen. You know, I mean, it was a huge risk, you know? So
absolutely.
For the balls that they took, yeah, it's awesome.
Absolutely. Shit, Double A, I don't know, man. I think we've said it all we've had to say. Sing the praises about the great, great founders and the creation and the company that now is, and the newcomers like Kirkman to Image Comics that there is to say. Unless there's anything else, any final thoughts.
Just happy 30 years, Image Comics. Hopefully,
happy 30 years, Image Comics.
Hopefully they keep going for a long time.
You guys fucking deserve it, man. And you're an inspiration to every young upstart out there and every old upstart out there that hopes to one day leave a mark the way that you guys did. Double A, something we always like to say at the end of every show. It's been a little while.
And this applies to this big time.
Wholeheartedly. Fill me in if I'm missing anything, Double A. But one of the things we like to say, guys, is to seize the day.
Like the seven did.
Absolutely. They wanted something. They wanted to be their own bosses. They wanted to own their creations. They absolutely went and did that. Led, I would say, by Todd McFarlane, and seized the day. They took the reins of their own lives and control of their futures and created their own company with their own characters. Fucking so cool, man. And the other thing we like to say is that, in the words of the great Captain America, you got to do whatever it takes. I mean, and obviously they did.
They did, yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether it meant being Image, Umbrella, and then the smaller companies underneath, you know what I mean? Todd McFarlane Productions, Extreme,
Homage,
Wildstorm,
Top Cow, Wildstorm.
Top Cow.
Yeah.
They did that, man, and they left a unforgettable mark on the industry and the world of comics. And apparently my tacos are ready, so what other better time to say that,
right.
guys? But do not forget, guys, be like the founders of Image. Do whatever it takes. Seize the day. The opportunities are there for each and every one of us to go and have exactly what they had. And it's going to be an amazing and fun ride, I think. So for myself, CM Chuck, and
Double A.
guys, this has been another super fun episode of Just Another Friday Night. We told ourselves this is going to be a tight one, and we hadn't hit a 3-hour one in a while.
It's been a while.
We were doing really good about the 2 hours, and the 1.5 hours, whatever. But this one absolutely deserved it.
Yeah.
You know what? An hour for every year of Image Comics. I'm totally fine and happy with that. Guys, we're Just Another Friday Night. We're a pop culture podcast from San Antonio, Texas. We absolutely love doing what we do, which is coming out here every Friday night and talking comic books, toys, movies, shows, sports sometimes with you guys. We love for you to join us live every Friday night get in the conversation via YouTube, Facebook Live, via our group, the Friday Night Faithful, or our page, Just Another Friday Night. Join in. We want to hear what you have to say about every single thing that we're talking about, whether it be noteworthy or unnoteworthy. But either way, we will see you guys next Friday for another episode. Until then, that's it. Be safe. Do your best to take care of each other and have a drink on us. Cheers, Double A. All right, you guys. Good night. See you next week.